Well, welcome to the show.
This is our view from the bench.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm Brendan, Jason Kelsey's luchador mask.
And I'm Corey, confetti pickup guy from the Super Bowl. And happy Monday, post Super Bowl Monday. We made it through it all.
It is a happy Monday. I would wholeheartedly agree. As many people know, I was rooting for the Chiefs, so it is quite a happy Monday. We didn't quite hit our parlay, but we weren't that off, to be honest with you. So
not too bad. Not too bad. I mean, I would have liked
not too
winning,
bad. But True. And dang, you got a double whammy. You lost to your grandma too.
I know. I'm $40 in the debt to her too.
That's all right. Take her out to a nice dinner or bring a nice dinner over or something like that.
I'm actually doing that, I think, next week. That's my plan, to go over there and have lunch with her. So no problem.
Sweet. There you go. So I mean, obviously watched Super Bowl was yesterday. Besides that, how was your weekend?
Not too bad. Friday night was offspring night for the Ducks, and we were slammed. To me, it felt like we were working a playoff game, but we haven't done that in like 5 or 6 years. So it was a new change of pace for some of our staff members who hadn't been there since then. But made a lot of money, sold a lot of stuff. They did ultimately. Did they even win on Friday? I don't even remember if they won or lost. We were so busy of just
that busy
stuff. I didn't even think about it. But I did get an email Saturday morning from our director saying that everybody, like high up executives, had nothing but rave reviews for us and everything we did. So that's good to hear. And
you guys lost 5-3.
Okay, see there, we didn't see. Doesn't even matter. We're so busy, I didn't even realize what the score was. And then Saturday, I worked that Bronco concert we talked about last week, which was a waste of my time.
You told me it was a nightmare, bro.
It was when you got an hour and less before doors open to get the merch counted and ready, which is not the worst thing when it's only a couple buckets. But then the guy doesn't tell you the prices until after the doors open. Not the best start to the situation.
That's gotta be rough. Can I buy this? How much is this shirt?
I don't know. Come back. So yeah, I got that taken care of and in and out of there. But I think I got there at 4:30, but I got out by like 1:30. So not too bad of a day compared to normal concerts. And then yesterday was just chilling, watching the game. I have to admit that first half was pretty boring and kind of might have nodded off a little bit, but that's because of the late night before. But was ready for the second half and overtime, which we'll get into more as we continue on. But yeah, other than that, not a whole lot, sir. What about you?
I mean, that's pretty much all I did yesterday. Laffy came over, we hung out and watched the game, me and the wifey as well. And Saturday, I was like just busy, to be honest with you. I was like going here, going there, hit the gym, took the dogs on a walk, gave the dogs a bath, cleaned up the house. I was just like super busy, like so busy. I literally fell asleep on the couch before my wife even got home from work. She gets off at 6 o'clock.
Oh my gosh.
It's only like 30 minutes away. So she was home by like 6:30, 7 o'clock, and I was done. But it made sure that I was ready for Sunday. We still got up early again, went to church, got some food, then took another nap because I was just tired.
Don't blame you.
And then the game started. So it was pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That is one positive of the game starting at 3:30. You still have a good chunk of day in the morning to kind of nap or whatever you need to do to get ready.
Yeah, exactly. Get a bunch of stuff done. So luckily we weren't throwing too big of a party. We ran to the store just before the game started, just pick up a couple snacks, some fruit and some cookies and chips, just something to kind of like, it's fun to like munch on stuff while you're watching the game. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so it was a good time. And, even better time because the team I was rooting for won. So, but
let's make it better.
Before we get into all the Super Bowl stuff, if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss any one of our new episodes. It's completely free to do. It literally would cost you, maybe 1 to 2 seconds of your entire life. And it's $0 and it completely helps us out. And as we always ask, man, I mean, if you like what you're watching,
smash that like button. Always smash that like button.
Smash the like button for us. Also free. Also 1 to 2 seconds of your life. So hook a brothers up. You know what I mean? If you like what you see, tell us. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, might as well just get right freaking into it, dude. It was a phenomenal Super Bowl 58. I kind of liked everything. I want to give you before we get into the X's and O's and all that kind of stuff, I enjoyed as much as people may not like it, Pat McAfee liked it because he's a special teams guy. He likes the punting and the field goals and all the extra teams, special teams extra stuff. But I kind of like it too, especially the way we watch NBA now. It's just a walkway to the basket. It's kind of nice seeing something called defense be played, albeit in a different sport. Still was nice to see. It was kind of just like that nice back and forth. Both teams were very prepared. Niners came out with a ton of energy. So that was kind of cool to watch. The halftime show I thought was pretty cool as well. I mean, we kind of grew up in the Usher era. He started just a tad before us, but we kind of grew up in that era. So I knew a bunch of the songs as well. I know
Yeah.
you were excited when he took his shirt off, right?
Oh, of course, that's my favorite part. That and then the rollerblading around as
And
like
that
a
was kind of impressive, to
second
be
wall.
honest with you.
I don't even know. I did not expect that at all. I didn't know he could even rollerblade. So yeah, that was quite a spectacle to watch. And it was cool to have Lil Jon and Ludacris there at the end to close out with "Yeah." And
Hmm.
her did
Yeah.
really well. Alicia Keys
Who?
had a
Not
good
her. I'm just
spot.
kidding.
And then I think it was Jermaine Dupri that was there as well. I mean, just
Yes.
although I didn't recognize, was it Will I Am? I didn't even not know who that was until they put his name on the screen. Whatever he was wearing, I did not recognize him one bit. But the Black Eyed Peas haven't been around for a while, so I guess that's not that weird.
True. Yeah, no, it was definitely pretty good. I liked the show. So yeah, it was kind of cool. It was just interesting to see all of it together. It actually kind of worked out well. Like it started on the field, then he moved to the stage. To be honest with you though, I think the rollerblading dude, that's pretty ballsy, man. Like I understand you have to practice a lot and you're prepared for that. But if anything goes wrong, literally the whole world is watching. So
Yeah, for
I
real.
give him props for getting out there and like not just standing on the skates. Or like he was out there like doing some. I mean, not doing backflips or anything, but you know what I mean. Like he was doing some stuff. So I give him props to kind of doing that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the funniest photo I think I saw on Twitter after was the picture of him just like sweating and drenched. But I mean, you have to do a lot of stuff in what is it, 18, 19 minutes that he has to perform.
Yeah.
And the fact that he can get on skates in the middle of all that and skate around, I mean, that's again preparedness and a lot of practice going into that. So hats off to Usher and all the guys and girls that put in that show.
Yeah, it was a great show. Laffy actually told me before we get on to the actual football part. Apparently, he follows Usher, and he had been seeing Usher doing a lot of skating recently. He's like, "Why the hell is he all of a sudden getting into skating?" So when it comes on the show, he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is why he's been skating so much." It's kind of funny to see Laffy kind of connect the dots on that. So, yeah, apparently he's been rigorously practicing because again, one mistake and you are forever a meme on the internet,
Yeah,
especially when the entire world is watching on such a stage like the Super Bowl. So. But overall, good show and a second overtime Super Bowl we've ever seen. And in my opinion, both the teams I was rooting for won in overtime.
that's
So it
true.
was, it was a great. And unfortunately, they were playing against the same person in essence. So,
Also very
kind.
true. I forgot about that part.
But it ended exactly kind of how I was hoping, and it was a nice close game throughout. So, why don't we kind of break into it? Give me some of your, first impressions, anything that you kind of remember from the game that stuck out.
Well, like you mentioned, both teams came prepared. Obviously, having the extra week in between to get a game plan ready. The Niners definitely had more energy to start with, but if you think about it, it's kind of the nutshell of their season for the Chiefs. Like they just struggled early, but they hung in there. Their defense played really well. Spags obviously had them very prepared. There was a few times there, even late in the game, especially where Chris Jones had like just a walking lane to go to Purdy, or like had to force a bad throw by him because of it. And I know the first thing everybody talked about or was going to mention is like Purdy can't win the. I don't think Purdy did anything wrong. He played a great
Yeah.
game. He did exactly within their system what they expected him to do. You lost Debo at one point for a couple plays with the hamstring. I was surprised he came back because he literally pulled his own hamstring with nobody touching him and near him. So that was a little
Right.
worrisome initially. But yeah, just Christian McCaffrey did well, not as well as I had hoped. That fumble early again, it's just very ugly first half. The 10-0 lead for the Niners it felt like 20-0 at the time because the Chiefs just
Yeah, the way
could
they were
not
playing,
get.
100%.
Oh, the Chiefs just looked like they were in molasses out there. Just everything was not working, slow, not catching anything. And then obviously when Pacheco had the fumble, there was that
Ugh.
viral moment in the sense of Kelsey going over to Andy Reid, like I should have been in there putting that block, and it may not have happened. You could see, Pat Mahomes, even though he is the GOAT, you could see him a little frustrated early in the first half, and especially at that point when Pacheco, because that play before that deep like
Oh,
floating ball,
beautiful bomb. Yeah, it
yeah,
was
I mean,
52 yards, dude.
and you thought, okay, here's the Chiefs, they're going to wake up, and then Pacheco turns the ball over, and it completely kind of got them off their side. So I don't know, but overall, it was just a good game, especially like you said. Once we got past halftime and the interception by Mahomes there at the early third, it was basically a great game from then on. But the first half was all 49ers and a couple moments that they really could have gotten a stranglehold on it, and unfortunately did not take advantage.
Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. I have a couple things that I want to go over, but I'd love to talk about that Reed Kelsey nudge. I do think that Kelsey meant to come over as heated as he did. I don't think he meant to. Can you imagine if he fucking like knocked him over, bro, and like
Dude,
something like
I
happened, he got like hurt or something, he had to
that
like
would have been
coach from
bad.
the locker room or something. You know what I mean? Like, I
Or
mean, who
from a
knows what could
chair.
happen? Yeah, I mean, just like just luckily that he, didn't nudge him too hard. But there was plenty of talk about how, that's kind of just how the relationship is. And Reed understands that it's from a point of frustration in the fact that he wants to help, not frustration with Andy in any way, shape,
Correct.
or form. He just wants to be out there. And that's kind of what Andy wants. Andy
Yeah,
wants players who want it. And
exactly.
so obviously one catch, 1 yard in the first half, goes off for 9 more catches or 8 more catches, I believe, and for like 90 something yards in the second half, and some clutch ones as well,
Yeah.
obviously in the stretches there of the fourth quarter and overtime. So he basically got his point across, like, bro, because to kind of like what you said, he felt like he wasn't necessarily going to have the ball on that run
No.
play, obviously, but he felt like he would have stuck the block better than Noah Gray did.
Mhm.
And that would have not led to the second defender coming over to force the ball loose on Isaiah. So
Exactly.
yeah, I kind of want to also touch on what you said about Brock. I think Brock did good. I think Brock did good. But the problem is you're playing Patrick Mahomes, so in order to beat him, you need to be great. And
Yes.
that's not a knock on Brock Purdy. That's just saying there's different levels to this. Brock played really good. But against the GOAT, you have to be great. And there's those few instances, like the one you mentioned when Chris Jones was rushed, where I'm not saying anybody could do anything with that, but I told you, maybe 10, 15 minutes ago before we started that I think Patrick Mahomes might have gotten a little bit closer to that corner receiver to give him a chance, as opposed to it being way over Juwan Jennings' head. So, but he's definitely not the one to blame.
No, not at
They
all.
both did work on the defensive side. San Francisco, this is probably the best defensive game they played all year. They got tired at the end, because who wouldn't, after like 70 plays or something like that,
Yeah,
80,
it's a lot
almost
of
80
football.
plays. But other than that, man, they were on it. And I would say that they were the collective MVP, but definitely Nick Bosa. And the way that he played the game plan, he didn't overstretch. He kept Patrick Mahomes in the box. There was like one or two plays where he went in instead of going out and ensuring to keep him in that pocket. But other than that, he didn't force his sack numbers. He didn't force anything. He was a monster, but he was able to kind of still contain in the game plan. And I think Steve Wilkes did a great job. Again, man, it's one of those, like, I mean, oh darn, we lost to Patrick Mahomes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep,
that's
absolutely.
what do you do? What do you do?
I don't know what you can do. They did, like you said, they played great. Obviously, losing Greenlaw in the second quarter there to not even a play
Oh,
on the field, which is the word. I
dude,
was so
I
confused
feel
when they were
so
like,
bad.
yeah, I was so confused. They're like, Greenlaw's down. I'm like, he wasn't even, like, what? He wasn't even on the field. How did he get hurt? And they showed the replay of him basically celebrating like the stop that they got and then running out onto the field to play and just going down with no contact. And at that point, you knew it was probably an Achilles because usually those non contact injuries are the worst ones. Was never able to come back. And then I don't know if that ultimately is what decided the game because the Niners were still in it. Their defense played great regardless of him not being out there the whole second half. But you got to think and wonder, like, man, that could have been something that the Niners were missing late in the game for sure.
Yeah, we talked about it too a little bit before the game. At least I mentioned it, and I believe you kind of agreed with me in that. In today's day and age, especially in the passing era, linebackers are not important, but they're less impactful than, I would say, rushers and corners. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? People who are putting pressure on the quarterback and people who are trying to stop the guys they're throwing it to. So, and that's exactly what you saw, because from the Chiefs' perspective, they don't have linebackers that we know, right? They got Willie Gay, but other than that, they don't have linebackers that we know. The only
no,
people we know are Chris Jones on the line, and then maybe Willie Gay if you've been paying attention. But other than that, it was Snead and McDuffie doing
yeah.
work in the
Duffy had
in
a
the
great
in the
game.
backfield. Oh my gosh, it was so good. Yeah, Snead did have less than a below average game by his standards, at least, giving up the touchdown to Jawan Jennings, where he could have tackled him at the 5, and he just didn't.
Didn't.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, I don't care what he's doing. To slap Ayuk across the face mask for a 15-yard, like, right, the ref, he's making eye
Right there.
contact with the ref when he did it.
Yeah.
You're just like, stupid play, stupid play. So McDuffie was definitely the MVP of the defensive backs, the secondary, and then Chris Jones just doing what Chris Jones does the whole game was nuts. It was just great, just great. It was a great overall game, honestly. So
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, obviously MVP. He went 34-46, literally only 12 incompletions on 46 passes. That's great, and one of them was to the other team. 333 yards, but the 66 rushing yards are what was the most vital, in my opinion. I mean, all you need all 333 of those throwing yards as well. You barely won, but still, becomes the one of three players to have 3 Super Bowl rings and 3 MVPs, not even 2.
3 Super Bowl MVPs, but
Oh yeah,
2
2 Super
regular
Bowl
season
MVPs.
MVPs.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So great, just a great overall game. There was a couple things that I thought were interesting. I want your opinion on this. Maybe you could go into it a little bit more. The overtime rules. You were talking about how
Yeah.
this is the whole quote unquote Josh Allen rule and giving everybody, especially in the playoffs, a lot more overtime time. I guess you can say the difference between what Kansas City knew and what San Francisco knew. That was not great, right?
No, especially when you get players afterwards. Kyle Juszczyk was one of them. I think mentioned after the game, like, "Oh yeah, I thought if we went down and scored a touchdown in overtime, we won. I didn't realize the rule to change." Which these rules changed like it didn't just happen this past off season. That Allen
Mm-mm.
and KC AFC title game was like 3 years ago. So it's
Yeah.
definitely been something that's now it hasn't happened or put into effect since the rules came into place, but it wasn't a secret that was the case. Now my only thing with the rules, though, is because as we figured out yesterday, that even if Kansas City, because you and I both talked about it last night when we were on here, if Kansas City did not seem in a hurry to try to score before the end of the overtime, like I was like, dude, call a timeout. The clock is ticking. What are you doing? But they explained
Mm-hmm.
that the way the new rules work, that it does not matter if the overtime clock runs out. Kansas City has to finish their possession regardless of what they do with it. So there technically would have been a second overtime that would have started. And if they would
Mm-hmm.
have scored only the field goal, then we go to sudden death at that point, which I thought was very interesting. But yeah, I don't know what the Niners how is the coaching staff not aware? Andy Reid knew exactly what they were doing. He did credit. I can't remember who he said that was on the coaching staff that went over and found all the details of the overtime rules. But because of that, they as a coaching staff and as a team knew exactly what they were going to do. Pat Mahomes talked about it today during his interview on Sports Center from Disneyland that if the Niners would have gone down and scored a touchdown and got the extra point, Kansas City was going to go down and score a touchdown. And instead of going for an extra point and tying and then making it a sudden death game, which the rules is what they are now, they were going to go for 2 and either win it on that or they were going to lose. They were not going to put the ball back in the 49ers' hands and let them decide the game. They were going to let Pat Mahomes decide the game, which is ultimately what you should do. My only thing, though, with the new rules like this, if it doesn't matter if you don't score before the clock runs out and it starts another quarter, why are we even having a game clock? Why should there should just be a play clock at that point, right?
Because
That makes sense.
they're trying to do. I know you completely make sense. The only thing that I would say is they're trying to differentiate themselves from college. Now, granted, I understand
Oh, that's
college
true.
also starts on the opposing field.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, that's a great point. That's a very good point. Although there have been overtime games where nobody scores, right, and then it
True.
just ends in a tie. Well, that's regular season. Obviously, you don't end the Super Bowl in a tie. But
God, can you imagine? Oh my lord.
dude, all right. Well, you guys kind of both win, so great job.
We'll just get another trophy made. You guys can each have one.
That'd be nuts. That'd be nuts. But yeah, to your point, all the players they had actual meetings where players would come up and recite rules for the overtime game. Players knew, not just some of the coaching staff, not the players knew there were some different rules. They knew the rules. And I completely agree with you. There's only one person that I want. I don't care how good the defense is playing, and they were lights out, dude, because San Francisco was on point. Kyle
Mhm.
Shanahan was calling a great, great game, but Steve Spagnuolo was right there with him. So I mean, it was a great back and forth battle. But there's nobody I want the ball with more than Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, I'm going for 2. I'm going for 2, 3 times. If it turns out to be like the Lions Cowboys game, where the penalty and then penalty and then more penalty, I'm going every single time. I'm going for 2. You just gotta give it to Patrick. So yeah, it was a great one. It was a great one. I have 5 kind of like key moments, and I put them in an order of importance as far as like what happened. In my
And we
opinion.
have a very similar list as you go, so that makes sense.
Okay. So I'm gonna start with what my opinion was the most important play of the game. It's just under the 2-minute warning. The Niners have the ball and they're driving. They're already on the Chiefs side of the field. It's third down, 3rd and 4, I believe.
Mhm.
And Brock Purdy drops back to pass. And in a complete disguise, Trent McDuffie blitzes on Purdy's the side that he's actually looking towards, but he was disguised the whole time as a cover guy, and he gets to the quarterback immediately, and was able to kind of jump up and kind of deflect the ball for an incomplete pass. If they complete that, there's only 2 timeouts the Chiefs have in pocket because they
Mhm.
had to use one when they were backed up, they're on like 4 yard line earlier in the third or the fourth quarter. They only two. They're basically in best case scenario for Kansas City. Moody hits a field goal. You got 25 seconds, no timeout. Now, granted, we've seen Patrick Mahomes need 13
Crazy
seconds and
things.
no timeout. But it's still a thing where, Super Bowl and the way that, this Niners defense was playing, they weren't really giving up that many yards too easily. I mean, it did take 46 pass attempts and 34 completions for him to hit 333 yards, and 52 of them were on one pass alone.
True.
That was in the first. So I thought that was huge. I thought that was huge. The next one, in my opinion, do you agree that was like probably one of the biggest, if not the
And the
biggest play?
and yeah, and like you talked about, Spags had the best play drawn up to make him not even noticeable. He was, like you said, looking like he was in a cover situation, and he just kind of slowly snuck to the left. And as soon as they snapped the ball, he just took off. And as soon as Purdy had the ball and looked up, he had no choice but to throw that ball. Otherwise, he took the sack and then even possibly knocks him out of field goal range. Not that Mooney couldn't have made it. He did make a 55-yarder, I think, earlier, which at the time was a record until 2 hours
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, not
um,
even. I was like a
yeah,
half hour,
but
but yeah.
at the point is he had to rush that play and couldn't get where he wanted to because, like you said, if he completes that pass at that point, they're just wasting the clock out, kicking a field goal, and hopefully walking away with a win. So that was a huge turning point. I could not agree more.
Yeah. The next one I do have is actually we're gonna get to Moody. I don't necessarily I'll put it on him, but it was an extra point, bro. You're close. You
Yeah.
don't need longevity. Go for height over distance.
Yep.
The blocked PAT. The blocked PAT changes the entire game. Instead of the Chiefs needing to go down and score
Down
a
four.
touchdown, yeah, they only have to kick a field goal to tie it. And they end up doing so, obviously. So I think that was huge. A lot of people are kind of going to go over it. To me, it's what set up all the other big moments. You know what I mean? Like without that moment, you may not have all of the others. So I thought that one was big.
Yeah, if you think about
That's
it, if that PAT does not get blocked and they're up 4 and Kansas City goes down at the end of the fourth quarter. Now, they did have 6 seconds left. They could have taken another shot at the end zone. They would have had to take
mhm.
2 if that was the case and they were down 4. And so maybe we don't even go to overtime. So that's a huge turning point. And like you said, why are you kicking it so low when you're just kicking an extra point? You're not kicking the 55-yarder you kicked earlier in the game where you need the
Right.
longevity to get over the post. This is
hmm
just a chip shot in a sense. And again, get it up and over the line. Don't give them an opportunity to block it or have an like at all. Like don't even give them the reach or a possibility. But yeah, the way he kicked it, unfortunately for him, but fortunately for the Chiefs, was able to get a hand on it and knock it down.
Yeah. Yeah. The third biggest one, and this is again set up by some of the previous ones, was Chris Jones. I would call it a blitz, but he was really just unblocked,
Dude, made no
and that
sense.
was the overtime possession for the Niners when they drove right down the freaking field, and they made it look easy. Christian McCaffrey was chunking them. Christian
Mhm.
McCaffrey was lights out, 80 yards receiving, 80 yards rushing. Dude was the best Niners player on the field. Um, in my opinion, kind of hands down. All the other weapons were bottled up. Kittle had 4 yards, I think, 2 catches for like 4 yards. Debo was, I think he had 3 catches on 11 targets or something like crazy. McDuffie was all over him. Ayuk had some decent plays. He did get open, but nothing backbreaking. But the Chris Jones blitz was huge. He gets right and exactly what he did to Josh Allen by pushing, his lineman back into him, threw him off, and has to throw the incompletion in the end zone as they're trying to go and win/tie the game, which of course wide right happened. Woohoo! But yeah, that was huge. Him getting free, I guess you could say, even though he was free from the start. How do you do? I again, I don't. I'm not a football connoisseur, but how you don't block that guy
Yeah.
is just beyond me, dude. I don't. I mean, I understand. Okay, I cover this guy. The next guy's got this guy, and I'm sure that guy's like, okay, that guy's got that guy, and Chris Jones is like, all right, well, I'll get Brock then.
Yeah, right. And it's you talk about these 5 points you have. One of them too, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that same drive in overtime when Frisco was down back at their own side of the field and it was third and I think 13. same thing. They blitzed, and Birdie had no chance in order to throw it to somebody that was open, but they got that defensive holding, which gave them a
Yep.
first down and extended the drive, because that would have put fourth down and over 10, which you're not going for it on fourth at that point. You're punting it back to Kansas City, and all they need to do at that point is come down, kick a field goal to win the game. And we're not even talking about this crazy back and forth and overtime. So another turning point is that third down, getting that defensive hold, which I get it. He did grab him in a
He
sense as
did.
he's crossing apart. So I get the call. It's not a bad call. And I didn't think we talked about last week. Did the Chiefs have the referees on their side?
No.
I thought the refs did a great job. I think it was 6 penalties on each side. There was no controversial. Oh my God, I can't believe they called it. I mean, the Chiefs even got an intentional grounding one, which even then I think
Dude,
it was
that guy was close, bro.
Gene Steratore, or whatever his name is, the old ref that's their like analyst guy, came on and said, I don't know if I would have called that. He was kind of coming back and he was near the play or the ball ended, but I could see why they called it because it didn't quite get to the line of scrimmage again. But again, overall, the refereeing was fine. There was no
Yep.
controversial, oh my God, what were they thinking on that call? I thought it was
Yeah.
pretty fair across the board.
Yeah, agreed. They had good no calls because there was some like Debo's first deep touchdown attempt where
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Snead or McDuffie was on him. He was kind of holding his arm a little bit, but there's so much going on. It
Yeah.
was a good, in my opinion, it was a good no call. It shouldn't have been offensive, shouldn't have been defense, should have been nothing. But yeah, great point. I think the referee was on par, and in no way did it favor either team. To be honest with you, I think it was just a fairly called game, so that was
Yep.
good. My fourth point, as most impressive or key moments or plays, was basically just Patrick Mahomes at the end of regulation and overtime.
Cold
He
blooded.
was insane in overtime. He was 8 of 8 and accounted for 60. I think 62 of the 75 yards, whether that be passing or throwing. So I think Pacheco got 13 yards, and I think that was only on 2 plays. So he was just lights out. Great. They ran the same play that they won the Super Bowl on before. They just did it on the other side, but the way that they had this angle is more like sky cam kind of, but it was like really behind the line of scrimmage. It was more towards like eye level instead of like above. And you can kind of see when I think it was Orlovsky or somebody was kind of breaking it down after the show. You can see Hardman break in and you can see how the defense would then shift responsibilities because you're assuming that he's running to the other side. So as soon as the responsibilities shift, he cuts over and is a free runner because well, responsibility shift. That's not my guy. That's oh wait,
Mm-hmm.
no, that is supposed to be my guy. With the play action, he sold Bosa on it because Bosa beat this guy pretty much every fucking play, dude. Nick
Yes.
Bosa was a monster. Props to Nick, dude. That guy killed it yesterday. So he sold the bite on McKinnon run, and he was able to wrap around. And I mean, he literally and Kelsey took the safety deep in the end zone because you got to watch freaking Jason or Travis Kelsey. He's freaking the guy, right? And
Dude,
it was perfectly set up.
my favorite part of Kelsey on that run too, as soon as he runs straight in because he knows it's not coming to him, the play is drawn up to go onto the right side. He realizes the guy comes to him and he knows he's wide open. He doesn't even look over there. He looks straight up into the scoreboard. He sees that Hardman caught the ball and he just puts his hands up like, "Yes, we did it. I knew it. He was going to be open." Had no play, nothing to do
Doubts.
with that play. Just knew it was going to
Mm-hmm.
happen. Do my job, focus on what I need to do, and bring that guy towards me and leave him to go. Worked out exactly as they planned.
Yeah, yeah, a great. So I thought Patrick Mahomes was just outstanding as he was. He did, throw his first interception in a long time, but that's on the Niners to convert. You don't even get a field goal out of that. You
No.
turn the guy over. You don't even get a field goal out of that. That's just bad. That's just bad.
Yep, lost
The last one that I
opportunities.
obviously have, yeah, agreed. The last one that I have is pretty obvious. I don't really fault anybody except on the recovery portion. I forgot his name. Number 3, the punt returner for the Niners literally points out and says, "Move. I'm not catching the ball. Get the heck out of the way." So he's doing his job. It, with the worst luck ever, bounces off the
Mhm.
heel of one of his players. But the stupid thing is that you try to pick it up and do something with it. The
Yep.
age-old saying, and I've never even played, football at a high level. I've maybe some flag, right?
Mhm.
Is fall on the ball. It doesn't really
Yep.
matter if you get 2 yards or if you lose 2 more yards. It does no bearing. As long as you have possession, you're good. And the Chiefs scored the first touchdown of the game, their first touchdown of the game, sorry, off the very next play. So that was probably the fifth one in my opinion, because it just changed momentum a lot.
Oh, big time. Completely turned it upside down. Like you said, Kansas City again had struggled. They had 3 points at half. They come out in the first drive of the third quarter, and Mahomes tries to pitch it to Pacheco. They drop it, so he
Ugh,
fumbles and gets it back. Again, drops down on the ball, does not try to pick it up and do something else.
smart.
Then he throws the interception. Again, the Niners get nothing out of it. So then you end up punting away. And even though the Niners were going to have the ball inside their own 20 at that point, again, fall on the ball if it's get tipped. Do not try to create something out of nothing. Keep possession. When it comes down to it at the end of the day, they always say in the NFL, you can tell who wins the game by looking at the turnovers on the score sheet. That's the main factor that usually decides who ultimately wins the game. And again,
Especially in a very like close game. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like these two teams are evenly matched. Yeah.
so completely. And to let that again put all the momentum, they go on one play, they score a touchdown. Now Kansas City's like, okay, we've hung around long enough. Now we're in this. We have an opportunity. Even though the Niners came back later and still took a lead, but again, they missed the extra point. You still feel like, man, you guys didn't cut the throat of them. You left them alive and hanging around again, and
Hmm.
ultimately made them pay.
Yeah, I forgot who it was. I think it was Orlovsky. He says you can't. You got to take them, and then if you got to put them out to the shed, you got to shoot them, and
Yep.
then you got to go back and you got to double check the dead, and then double check one more time, triple check to make sure. Actually, I think it was Mark Sanchez on Colin today. He was just breaking it down like, dude, this is the team that you can't kind of be in front. You can't kind of have a lead. And now Patrick Mahomes has trailed by 10 or more points in all 4 Super Bowls, and he's won 3 of them.
That's
So the only one he
insane.
didn't was to this gentleman here in this jersey. Bucks Chiefs hit me. He lost 31-9, so it wasn't really that close. But other than that, he's come back from 10 down each time, and 2 of them against the Niners.
Yeah,
So
it's Shanahan.
it's just one of those things. But yeah, I mean, either other than that, it was a great game. I was gonna have a lot more to say depending on how this went, but I will get into it a little bit because I've been waiting to kind of talk about it,
I'm
but I
waiting
wanted to
for
make sure that
this.
they actually lost first. Okay. The one of the reasons why I actually am rooting, besides my mother, love you, mom, against the Niners is because of their fans. There's actually nobody on this team that I dislike. I think Nick Bosa is great. I love that they have a great plethora of defensive talent. Fred Warner seems awesome. They've got Chase Young, Eric Armstead. I know he's super big in the community, really big community service kind of guy. So all their players seem nice. Got great weapons. Christian McCaffrey seems awesome. Brock Purdy, as much as I talk about CJ Stroud, he's not as loud and boisterous about it. If you ask him about it, he's strong in his faith too. So I give him props for talking to talking to the media about that kind of stuff. But I was rooting against them mostly because of their fans. Their fans think that the Niners are just the greatest fucking thing since sliced bread. And,
Mhm.
and don't get me wrong, they are very good. But there's another team whose fans irritate everybody who think that their team is just the greatest since sliced bread, and that's the Cowboys. And everybody shits on the Cowboys, myself included, because oh man, you guys every year you guys think it'd be so good. You're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and then what do you guys do? You choke. You don't win shit. You guys haven't won since 1995. Well, Corey, you know who hasn't won since 1994?
I think the
Which is a
Niners.
year earlier. Yeah, it's the fucking San Francisco 49ers. Now, I'm not going to put them on the same exact boat, but they're in the same pond. How about that? They
Okay,
have a
yeah.
little bit nicer boat, okay, than the Cowboys do because, granted, they've been to 3 Super Bowls in that time. They've lost all 3. One of them to Tom Brady, the GOAT, one of them to Kansas City, the second GOAT, and then again to Kansas City, the same guy that they lost to the first time. So
Don't
it's
forget
not like they're.
too, they did lose to the Ravens when they had Kaepernick as well. So
Oh yeah, true, 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 true. I'm sorry, I'm confusing them. I'm confusing Shanahan's losses. Yeah, so you lost to the Ravens in the Brother Bowl. I know the lights went out, but still. Um, so you lost 3. You made 3, but you lost them all. Do you think they're gonna hang? We made it to the Super Bowl, but lost banners.
nope, they are one of those franchises that only holds up the championship banners just like the Lakers do in the NBA and the Celtics. You don't put division titles up, you don't put conference titles up. It is literally all about the ultimate goal, which is winning the Super Bowl. And again, they fall short. And now you have to think too, is this window that the Niners had closing or is it still slightly open? I think we talked about it last night when we were on here that as of now, Vegas has them as the favorites to win next year, of course,
Yeah,
because Vegas always has the next championship picked out ahead of time,
ready
even
to
though we
go.
haven't been free agency or a draft or anything. But it will be interesting to see what John Lynch does and how they go about this. And ultimately, I mean, how many more chances does Shanahan get? Now, his dad was there very similar as a coach, as an assistant. They went to the Super Bowl a couple of times in Denver and lost. Ultimately, got over the hump and won back to back. hopefully that's what happens for his son. But who knows, man? I don't know how many more years you're going to be able to keep this team together. Eventually, that tax bill is going to come for the Niners. They can't keep paying all these guys and being under the cap. At some point, they're going to have to pay the bill, and that's kind of like what the Rams did after they won their Super Bowl.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great comparison. Last part about the Cowboys, and then I want to touch on Shanahan. So the Cowboys I'm going over the past like 10 years. Okay, so obviously I'm going back 30 years from saying they haven't won a Super Bowl, but no, let's go to 10 years. In the past 10 years, the Niners have made the playoffs 4 times. The Cowboys have made the playoffs 6 times.
Wow.
This is where I'll give the 49ers the edge and why they're on a different boat, just on the same pond. In those only 4 times, the Niners have won 8 playoff games. The Cowboys have only won 3.
Ugh.
But again, what is the playoffs for? You're all playing for just playoff wins, or is there something at the end that we're all kind of going for?
Yep, you are correct, sir. There is an
The
ultimate
championship.
prize where we're all
And
going.
in the past 30 years, I think they've won the same exact amount about that franchise that they talk shit about, and that is 0. Well, we've had more opportunities. Okay, hang up. We had lots of opportunities banner. Go ahead and hang that one up. Nobody cares. Nobody cares unless you actually get it done. So I'm just ready for the Niners fans to shut the fuck up and just be fans. They're the only ones who say like, oh, we're the now. Granted, the Chiefs maybe our fans are like that too because well they win.
They win.
And Patriots fans were like that, but that was also because they win. So the only team that I know that people complain about are the Cowboys. Well, you know what? I'm going to start complaining about these Niner fans. They're all we're the best, haven't won shit. Okay, so get over it. To kind of add to that, there's not like maybe 3 or 4 coaches and only 2 that I can think of off the top of my head that I would take over Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan is one of the best coaches in the NFL, a brilliant offensive mind. And it's really only Andy Reid and a toss up between Sean McVay, maybe, that I'm like thinking, yeah, this is who I'm going with. Sean McVay is a top 3 coach.
Yep.
Agree or disagree?
Could not agree more. And Reid is the top of the mountain right now, having now his 3rd Super Bowl championship. McVay has already won one and been to 2. And I mean, the one he lost was to Belichick and Brady when they were on their last run as the Patriots winning a title. So there's nothing to argue there. And I'm with you. Shanahan is a great coach. And unfortunately, sometimes just things don't bounce your way. It's not even necessarily now the overtime rules thing. That might have been something that came back to bite him, but
People will give him shit for that.
but he can't control the punt getting hit off of his guy's heel when the guy doesn't even know where the ball is in the air because he's trying to do a block. Like sometimes things just happen and the luck just doesn't bounce your way. And unfortunately for Shanahan, that has happened as a coach twice as in the Super Bowl and once as a coordinator when his team was up 28-3 in Atlanta. And that one's just again, you played against Brady and you played against Mahomes twice. Those are the 2, as we talk about at this point, the 2 greatest quarterbacks in the history of the league as at this moment. And it's hard to argue that you just sometimes get bad matchups and the luck just doesn't bounce your way.
Yeah. Agree. Yeah, but he's a great coach. They'll be around for a while. The only thing that is, troublesome for them is finding a quarterback that they're going to have to pay. If they're just going to be cycling through rookies as the quarterback, that might be what's holding them back. They need a franchise quarterback, and maybe it is Brock Purdy. I don't know. I'm not saying it's not Brock Purdy. To me, I think he played a good game, but I do kind of think this is his ceiling. He's in one of the best systems with one of the best coordinators. Now, granted, you could say the same thing about Mahomes, but Mahomes overcomes a lot. If you give Patrick Mahomes, let's just say you switch offenses, at least weapons.
Oh my gosh.
I think this game is over early.
If Pat Mahomes had Ayuk, Debo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, like not that Kelsey's not great at his position.
Yeah, Kelsey's way better.
But other than that, the Niners on paper again had all the players, the names, the big names, the big money. They had 7 All Pros, more than any other team in football this year. The Niners should have won this game if you look at it on paper. But again, that's why they play the game. And Mahomes does more with less, just like Brady used to do. We talked about this before. Brady would have in the 6 Super Bowls he won in New England and 1 in Tampa. The only constant he had in a couple of those was Gronk on the last couple in New England and 1 in Tampa. Other than that, it was always a new cast of characters, running back. It did not matter. The defense was a big part of it, the first 3 he had when he was a younger quarterback. But again, Mahomes, this was the best defense he's had in any of the 4 Super Bowl appearances he had. And they still won the game, and they played great.
Yeah.
And Mahomes ultimately, again, the cold-blooded killer in the NFL, man. You cannot give him the last say or the last drive in a game that's in a one-possession game. It's just you can't do it. You can't stop.
No, ask Ask a litany of NFL quarterbacks. Ask Josh Allen about that a couple times. Ask Joe Burrow about that. Ask Lamar Jackson about that. Ask now Brock Purdy about that. He just does it. Ask Jalen Hurts about it last year. He just does it. He
And
just
it's
does it.
crazy
So
because we talked about it before. Now that it's completed, he's only got 3 losses in the playoffs in his 6 years as the starter. 1 to Brady in a Super Bowl, 1 to Brady in an AFC title game, and 1 to Burrow, which,
in an AFC title game.
even Brady lost to Manning once or twice in the playoffs in an AFC title game, or the Ravens the year that they went on to win the Super Bowl. Like, it's going to happen occasionally. You're not going to be perfect, but man, when he's there, it's hard to go against him. And if I'm a betting guy, I can't bet against him anymore. It has to be until I see him lose a game with my own eyes. I can't bet
Yep.
against him. I just can't.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Well, speaking of eyes, man, this was a huge game. I mean, I don't
Oof.
know if it was the 52 seconds of Taylor Swift that we got on the screen or what, but most watched telecast in history, 49ers Chiefs was huge. 123.4 million viewers across all platforms.
Oof.
That's a lot of people watching. I was one of them, of course. What's crazy too is that's like kind of a guesstimate, right? I mean, you have a couple TVs on and you can kind of guess who's tuned in, but how many people are at that TV? You know,
Exactly. How
there's
many?
3 people at mine.
Well, I'll
How
say
many
how many
people are
people
at
at a
part?
parties or a
Mhm.
bar or I'm sure Vegas had all kinds of watch parties and you only have a couple TVs, but you've got hundreds of people there watching it. So yeah, the numbers are astronomical. And I think I heard today something. I was listening to Mason Ireland, and they said that the most watched telecast of all history of TV is the moon landing back in the 60s, and it was like between 130 and 150 million. This drew
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
123 and change. That is massive. Like, it's just, and again, if you're CBS, man, if you got to be just stoked that you had Pat Mahomes and the best quarterback in the game in his prime. I mean, he's only 28. He's gonna if he
Yeah.
continues to do this, and they can. I mean, Kelsey's getting a little older, so at that point, I don't know how many more years he has, but he's definitely come back next year, so they can possibly
Oh
have
yeah,
that three-peat.
100%.
And if they even get an opportunity to get in the playoffs this year, don't count them out on getting that three-peat, or at least being in the Super Bowl and having an opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I do think that they need to improve the weapons. Rashee Rice was great. Miko Hardman and Vontaze. Wait, oh my gosh, what did I think his name?
Montez Scantley is his last name, right? Is that what you're
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah. Valdez
Valdez
Scantling. That's it.
Scantling.
Marquez Valdez Scantling. That's who it was. I'm sorry. I was like, I'm saying it wrong. I don't know what is right, but I'm saying it wrong.
MVS.
They were helpful, right? Don't get me wrong. Obviously, Kelsey is the main guy. Rashee Rice stepped up a lot this year. In fact, there was a play where he was open for the win. That back shoulder fade at the end of regulation, before they kicked the field goal to tie it to go to overtime. Rashee Rice was wide open in the middle of the field, wide open. They showed a replay because Romo called it because they kind of went to the sideline and were wondering why Rashee Rice was arguing with Patrick freaking Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
And Mahomes or Tony Romo was like, I think Rashee was open, and he was kind of mad that he didn't see him, and he kind of forced the ball
To Kelsey.
to Kelsey.
But again,
And they showed a replay, and he was fucking wide open. But
yeah,
I
but
mean, again,
again,
I don't know the Mahomes view and all this kind of stuff,
yeah,
but
but also the fact that they go to the sideline and Rashee Rice and him kind of going back and forth. It's the same thing as Kelsey going up to Reed earlier in the game. That shows that they care. They're paying attention to detail. They want to win this
yeah,
game. It's not just like, oh, well, I was open. He didn't get, like, he's letting him know, like, bro, I was there. We could have ended this game. But Mahomes is able to keep him calm at the end of it. They go into overtime. He gets that big catch across the field to get the
yeah,
first down.
fed him.
So still
Hmm.
worked out for Rashee and got to be involved in the game winning drive. But again, they care, they want to win, and you can see it by the fact that they get on the sideline. And that's just sports, man. If you're a competitive egotistical person, which you are, and you have to be to get to this
In a
level.
good way.
Yeah, no, in a good way. You have to be to get to this level. You can't just be like, oh, I kind of like football and I want to play. Like, you have to think I am the best at my position and I'm going to beat everybody and everything they throw at me. I think it's a good thing to have guys on your team that think that way.
Yeah, I think Pat Mahomes respected it a lot,
Oh yeah,
and that's why he kept feeding him, and that's why and that's why you don't, have these weird divisions where you're thinking like, oh, well, then I don't want to throw it to you anymore if you're going to come
yeah,
yell at me. Like, no,
no,
Mahomes just wants to win. Doesn't really matter who he's sending it to.
absolutely.
And the game winner was with McCole. It was crazy. I think you have a clip of Pat telling a story about this,
Oh,
right?
this is great. So after the game is over, well, even it's before we play the clip, just think about you're watching the game-winning play. When Hardman catches that pass, he just kind of holds the ball up in the air like, yeah, I caught a touchdown. And
I caught touchdown.
it
Woo!
almost looks like he doesn't realize that they just won until Pat starts running over to him, and then he kind of jumps in the air. And the story that Pat's about to tell that we're going to show you kind of confirms that, and it's hilarious.
Patrick Mahomes. Can I tell a quick funny story? Please. I threw a touchdown to this dude at the end of the game. And he looked at me. I said, and he had no idea. I said, dude, we just won the Super Bowl. And then he said he blacked out. He had no idea. I was like, bro, because he didn't even celebrate at the beginning. I'm like, what are we doing?
When I see you retort, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's time to celebrate now.
Yeah, I guess he just blacked out. Just blacked out. I saw another clip of like Mahomes mic'd up where he's running up to he's like, "We're world champs, baby. We're world champs." And Harden was like, "Oh yeah, all right." It's
Yeah,
like, okay, shoot.
the funniest part is it's not like Hardman hasn't done this before. He was on the team last year. I know we'll go to
Yeah.
another clip here in a second where he wasn't on the team when the season started, but he's been there before with Mahomes and they won before. Now, not in this fashion on a game winner, so I guess it's a little different, but it's just funny to me that he just like held the ball like, yeah, I got the touchdown. What's next? Like, what are we doing? And then they're like, no, it's over. We won, man. This is it. We're the champs.
Yeah. And the two best pass catchers from whatever, especially the media, but even the eyes would tell you, Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice, 0 touchdowns. The two people everyone said were question marks, Valdez Scantling and Mecole Hardman. The touchdown, the only touchdown to keep them in it, and the game-winning touchdown was to Hardman. I mean, Mahomes, you can't make it up. Mahomes is just makes people better. Like you referenced earlier, but making Danny Amendola into a household name, but that from Tom Brady, Julian Edelman,
Yep.
who was a great player, but no one ever thought he was going to amount to be the guy that he became. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah, plenty of talent that he's turning up, and yeah, this Mecole Hardman Jet story is crazy, right?
Yeah, so I didn't realize he wasn't on the team when the season started because again, he had been there before, so I just assumed he came back and was on the same team. But he signed a free agent deal to go to New York and play with the Jets this year and Aaron Rodgers and have an opportunity to, see what they could do. But before their season started, during their training camp, they were in Hard Knocks, and this mentalist guy that goes around to different teams and kind of does these trippy things to get you guys really thinking that he knows like the future almost had Hardman up in front of the team in a meeting and explained, like, I'm going to have you pick who you think you're going to play in the Super Bowl. He might have been right, but maybe not with the right team. So let's go ahead and check that out.
We make it to the Super Bowl Sunday. I want you to picture, take a step forward. I don't want you to imagine you got a crystal ball in your hand. You see the future. Tell us, who do you see the Jets playing in this year's Super Bowl? Say it. 49ers. 49ers. I'm putting you on the spot here. We're going to win. We know we're going to win. What's the final score going to be?
31-21.
Yeah, because when all the pieces come together in a season, it can be absolute perfection, folks. Because that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the Jets and the 49ers. 31-21. That's crazy. Hey, that's crazy.
Okay, when I see videos of that dude, that fool is very trippy, dude. Like I know the magic and all this kind of stuff. I'm sure there's a trick about it, but he does stuff that you're just like, wait, what, bro? I thought that was crazy. One note though, quick before you, what was the difference between the scores? 31-21. That's 10. That's Patrick Mahomes' favorite number to be down in a Super Bowl. 10.
Dang, I didn't even think about that part.
Yeah. So that's a really cool clip. He had on the Jets before he was traded the entire season. I think he got traded early.
Yeah, it was like
especially
week
because Aaron
7, I
Rodgers.
think.
Yeah, okay. Especially since Aaron Rodgers went down. He had 1 catch for 6 yards. That was his entire Jets career.
Oh man. Well, thank God he came back to Kansas City, and they obviously knew that bringing him back into the fold, he knows the system, knows how to play with Pat, it would pay off. Ultimately did, but like you said, the crazy part is he was on a different team, picked the Niners and Jets in the Super Bowl, got the Niners part right. He just happened to be on the Chiefs on a different team and got the game-winning catch. And maybe that's part of the reason he blacked out. He just realized, I don't even know what happened right now. Like, it's just something crazy to think about. Again, it's Hardman and them. They get the title and they get to walk off. Another OT, like you talked about, the second time in Super Bowl history, we get to see an OT game and walk-off winner.
It was great. I was stressed the whole time because the Niners did look really, really good. And again, 2 reasons. One, I just don't want to hear the Niner crap. Us being in LA, 2 things. One, a lot of people come down from NorCal, move downhill. It's a little nicer weather. They get a lot of rain up there. It's kind of cold sometimes. But 2, there was a moment in time where LA didn't have a team. So a lot of people who kind of grew up here just adopted either like the Raiders or you like the Niners, and the Raiders sucked for a long time. So, a lot of people kind of adopted, I guess you could say, being Niners fans. So there's just a ton of them here. But I was nervous, man. They were looking good. They were looking good.
Yeah, you mentioned
happy
the Niners
the outcome.
Have a lot of fans down here because the Rams lost in '94. Actually, funny note, my dad took me. It was on Christmas Eve. I would have been 94, I think, to the last Rams game played in LA, which technically was at Angel Stadium at the time. So my first NFL game was the Redskins and Rams Christmas Eve, and the Rams lost their final home game before they left ultimately to St. Louis and then came back. But again, during that time, the Niners just won the Super Bowl. The Cowboys had won. So the Niners, the Cowboys, and Raiders, because they had been in LA and left, everybody in this, and really our age range, because we were basically 9 or 10 years old by that all kind of started happening, became Niner fans, and it took over the world. That's why every time the Rams and Niners play at SoFi, there's a ton of red in that stadium, and I'm sure Rams fans absolutely hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they got the last laugh this year. So
Yeah.
I know that. I mean, you could be fans of both, I guess, but you're pretty much, in my opinion, you're pretty much hating on the team that's in the division, not rooting them on.
Yeah, you're one or the other.
Like you with the Colts.
I'll never root for the Colts.
Yeah. Well, it was a great Super Bowl. I'm already looking forward to the season next year, to be honest with you. NFL has definitely become my favorite sport. It used to be like my second or third behind baseball and basketball. I just haven't been keeping up with baseball as much. They're finally changing the rules to make it more interesting. And then basketball, they just stopped playing defense and stuff. So football is definitely my new favorite sport. And when I start learning all the intricacies of football, it's just it's exciting. It's exciting to see the back and forth battle. I think it was Mark Sanchez who kind of said it today on the Colin show, or maybe it was Colin himself. It was really art piece, man. It was art that was in the Super Bowl. If you're thinking about it from more than just big guys throwing a football around, like the strategy that has to go in, the planning and setting up plays, what you do at the beginning of a game that sets you up for the end of the game. Kansas City was looking bad, man, but they still saved their best plays for when it mattered the most. You know what I mean? They don't give up on the thing. You keep sticking to the script. And even the Niners did the same thing. So it was masterful to see, the Shanahan offense against Spagnuolo, the Reed offense against Wilkes against the Wilkes defense in his first year as the defensive coordinator, might add. So not a defensive coordinator. He's been with defense before, but for the Niners this year. So it's I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good. So happy, but yeah, excited for 2024 season.
Yeah, and Vegas already has the odds. Like we said, the Niners are favored to win it again, or win it in general. They're favored again. I should say, not favored to win again, but favored again.
Against all odds, though.
I was just going to say, against all odds. They have no bulletin board material to go into the season next year. I don't know what they're going to come up with now, but against all odds, they are favored to come back and possibly win it next year.
Yeah, Chiefs are second. Looks like Vegas is already putting bulletin board material up in Kansas City. Hey. Said, yeah, we get you just one. We get you underdogs in every round except the first round when you play the Dolphins at home. But we still think that you guys just won't do it. Now, a lot of it could be just banking that no one has ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row. Fact. But I don't know. I think Pat Mahomes might take that personally.
But even though nobody's ever won 3 in a row, I mean, we did see the Bills in the early 90s go to 4 in a row, just not win any of them. So it's not impossible to get to a third straight. And the fact that they've already won 2 of them, they could. And if they get there and win 3 in a row and 4 in like 6 or 7 years or whatever it is with 5 appearances, just mind blowing.
I think if that happens, I would put Mahomes equal to Brady.
I mean, it's
already.
I think if you're looking at the total rings, obviously Brady has the advantage there. But if you're looking about the individual and their ability, I think Mahomes kind of already is, because he can move out of the pocket. He can run. He does a lot of things that Brady never could do because that's not the game he plays or not how his body is built. But yeah, if you're looking at the overall GOAT winning and most titles, it's hard to go against Brady at this moment. But I think individually what they can do on the field, I think Mahomes is already better, to be honest.
Yeah, individually, sure. This is the only thing that I would say to that. One, picked 199th.
True. Compared to
nobody
15.
believed in him. Andy Reid traded up to go get Patrick Mahomes because they believed in him.
That's a good
Number 2, you get Andy Reid. And I'm not saying that I want him to go away. I'm not saying I doubt Patrick Mahomes will ever leave Kansas City. No. But if Patrick could do it with somebody else, like Brady was able to do, those are 2 differentiating things. And the third one is, as much as Patrick Mahomes has come back from 10 3 times, has anybody come back from, I don't know, let's say 25 down in the third quarter?
Yeah, that is a good point. You have me there.
So that's the only 3 kind of notes, because otherwise I wholeheartedly agree with you. In fact, the only other jersey I will probably own besides this one is sometime I'm going to buy a Patrick Mahomes Chiefs jersey, because as you know, I like dynasties. I don't get tied to a certain team. I root for the Cardinals, but there's not really much to root for, right? So at the end of the day, I just kind of want to root for, I like dynasties. It is what it is. So yeah, exciting. I think we have one more bit of NFL news, right? Well,
I was going to
what's
say,
you found something else?
2024 season, we're already excited about it, and we know that the Chiefs will be hosting Thursday Night Football when it starts because they're the defending champs and hoisting up their banner. But the other thing we know is that Friday night they're going to do for the first time is going to be the NFL is going to have a game in was it Spain or Brazil? I think
Brazil.
Brazil. Okay, so they're going to have a game
Paulo,
in Brazil. It's going to be the Eagles hosting. We're not sure who they're going to be hosting yet. We'll figure that out. But then it also was announced over the weekend that in 2025 they will be having their first game played in Spain at the stadium and home of Real Madrid Soccer. So continuing to grow the sport internationally. I would think the Jaguars might be playing in the game. They just seem to be playing every game overseas at this point because they have no fans at home and their stadium's not very nice. But yeah, just another note that we found over the weekend. They will be going in 2025 to Spain for the first time.
Bro, I can't imagine. So I hope there's like a football atmosphere where there's just insane amounts of chanting, where you just see like just large sections all just in full color and just like, oh, like
Flares going.
It's gonna be legit. I think that's cool. I think it's cool, especially in the home of Real Madrid. Sheesh.
Right? That's a big thing right there. That's a big thing.
Unfortunately, that's why I'm rocking this. We do have to lay rest of football. We're going to have some fun stuff. Obviously, training camp knows that'll be coming out. Any sort of other free agency signings over the next few months and stuff like that. But the draft obviously is going to be coming up. I think that's like April or so. So there's plenty to still talk about in football. The NFL makes sure that they're always, something to talk about there. But unfortunately, we're going to have to kind of lay it to rest for a little bit because it's officially baseball season, man. We're starting to get into it. We're not going to get into baseball yet. We have some other notes on football, and it's in college actually. Some crazy happenings over the past couple of weeks. One of them is that's pretty much it. There's not too much movement of players, at least none that's like extremely notable. Because sometimes we don't really know who those people are. Besides people not committing to Alabama because Saban's out. But we're going to start with Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien is actually going to be the new head coach at Boston College. He was originally named the Buckeyes, Ohio State's offensive coordinator, under Ryan Day, just mid-January, because it was after the season. Ohio State, did they make it? No, they didn't make it. That's right. Okay.
No, I don't think so.
But it was Michigan that did. Yeah, they took home the chip. Anyways, he now is not going to be that, and he's going to be taking over the vacancy that we previously announced for Jeff Hafley, who is moving on to be the defensive coordinator for the Packers. He's kind of wanted to get out of the NFL. Bill O'Brien is looking to kind of get into his second stint, right?
Yeah, it'll give him an opportunity. I mean, we know he
college. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Second stint in college. He coached Penn State, but he took over at Penn State after the Joe Paterno situation was kind of unfolded. And at that point, they were in sanctions, and there wasn't really a whole lot they could do. They weren't expected to win. Not the greatest situation. He was the head coach of the Texans at one point, took them to the playoffs. So he's coached at both levels as far as being a head coach. It's an opportunity. He's originally from Massachusetts. So he's going home and back to where he started as a kid. And obviously he worked with the Patriots as well. So he knows the area very well. Gives him an opportunity to kind of rebuild his own resume and not have to be just under Belichick in New England. And it is kind of weird going to, Ohio State in mid-January and then deciding a month later, like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to go. But again, to have an opportunity to be a head coach, I think is something that you have to, if you really want to do it, you have to take advantage of any opportunity that arises. And this is the opportunity that came. And because of that, there's another, obviously, opening at Ohio State, which becomes Chip Kelly's new job. Chip Kelly has decided to leave UCLA, who is in the Big Ten now, technically, and go be the offensive coordinator for Ohio State, who's in the Big Ten. So it's a very weird situation. I feel like I don't quite see. And again, it's so late in the year, too, at this point. Like, you already did all your recruiting for UCLA, and now a month and a half after, or 2 months later, after the window's open, you're just leaving them high and dry. I don't know. It's a really weird situation. I know him and Ryan Day have a history because he worked for him. Ryan Day was on Kelly's staff back when he was coaching in the NFL for the Eagles and the 49ers. So there is a connection there, but I just think it's kind of weird that he's leaving UCLA in the same conference and taking a pay cut and a job demotion in a sense to go to another team in the same conference.
The only thing I could think of is that the people of UCLA, it being a public school that is not that Ohio State's not, but it's coming from the Pac-12. There's not a shit ton of funding, I think, that's really going into this. I know a lot of it is booster independent and having to compete with the schools that not only that we're in, like the USCs, the Oregons, and the Washingtons, shoot, even some of the Arizona and now Colorado.
Yeah.
in Pac-12, having to go and try to keep up with Ohio State and Michigan and some of those other big schools, along with SC coming over as well, it'd be hard. I think that he's just not getting, what he needs out of that. What that is, I don't know. I think there might be a little bit more to the story that we don't know. But I think it's a good opportunity for him. He gets to kind of focus on one side of the ball and focus on the game, as opposed to what we've talked about before in some previous episodes, is the circus, I guess you can call it, that college football has become with all this NIL stuff. Again, Corey and I are pro athletes getting paid.
Absolutely.
Corey and I are also pro ability to transfer, but it's really created a haphazard environment for the NCAA football regime, and it's just making it really tough on coaches, as we've seen. So I think it's something to look into. Real quick though, for the Bill O'Brien stuff, I didn't get to say sorry. He's going to the ACC, which hasn't really looked great. Florida State was the best school there. Granted, they were undefeated, but they didn't really have that great of a season. They got blown out, obviously, by Georgia in their bowl game.
That's an understatement.
I think it's just a really good opportunity. Yeah, really seriously. I think it's just a good opportunity to have, because I think Bill O'Brien's actually a pretty good coach. To take that Penn State team that you mentioned, 15-9, and then turn around a Texans squad that had basically been in the dumps since they were started, right? With that team. Yeah, granted, he had freaking Deshaun Watson, but I think that's a really good opportunity for Bill. So, but moving back to UCLA, I think it's going to be awesome. He has plenty of weapons. They always seem to have a good quarterback. I know they technically lost the one that they had to a transfer, but they always seem to be ready. And having him being able to focus on just the offensive side of the football maybe kind of bring some energy back to him. And maybe from there, because he'll do well, maybe the year after or 2 years from now, he'll get the NFL call again and maybe see what he can do.
Also, don't be shocked if Ohio State doesn't have a great start and Ryan Day is already on the hot seat, gets fired, and then Chip can kind of step in, having already had head coaching experience. That could be a little bit.
That's not bad. I mean, I doubt that's Chip's plan, but could be Ohio State's plan. Exactly. That's not bad. That's smart.
And now that, UCLA didn't take very much time to get their coach spot filled in. They went ahead and hired their former running. Oh, that's a good point. They went and hired their former running back who played there, Deshaun Foster. Foster also served as a team running backs coach between 2017 and the last year when under Chip Kelly. There was also talk of, not even, I think 2 weeks ago, he was going to take a coaching position for the running backs coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. But then when your alum, comes at you and has this opportunity to take over and be a head coach.
Head coach is nice, yeah.
Yeah, and again, he's a younger guy. He's 44. He spent 4 seasons at UCLA as a player from 98 to 2001. He had 3,000 yards rushing and 535 yards receiving, as well as 43 touchdowns. So knows the game, knows the school. They did have the players. I don't know if you saw the video today, but there was a video of I think it's the AD going into the meeting room with all the football players and saying, here's your new coach. And they did not know who it was. And then when Foster walked in, they blew up an explosion of excitement when a bunch of guys went up and hugged him. So the team is excited to play for him, which I think is a huge step in the right direction, because it didn't seem like Chip Kelly had a lot of guys in his corner and he wasn't as fun. So maybe Foster kind of reinvigorates the UCLA program.
Yeah, maybe that's what they need. They need, because they haven't been doing great. I mean, they beat SC I think three straight years. So that's always nice for UCLA alum. But SC ain't doing shit either. So it's not that much of a brag, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Plus, if you look at it, USC, I think by that time of the year knew they weren't going to be playing in a real bowl game and just kind of lethargic in that whole game and just got their ass whooped essentially.
Still not fun to lose, bro. Still not fun to lose to the rival. You don't think Ohio State? Now, granted, Ohio State and Michigan are actually playing for something as 2 undefeated teams in the Big Ten, being obviously one of the top 4 playoff spots. But damn, that's one thing that a lot of people say. Yeah, but I get. We've been to the final. Yeah, we won. Yeah, no, yeah, but we lost 3 straight years to Michigan. Like that's people hang on that, and I think that maybe that's one of the things. But I mean, happy for him. Happy to see new coaches coming in, coaches moving around. I'm hoping that, all the players, like you said, kind of love it and take to it, fit in. But yeah, new coaches is good. New coaches is good because, as we've seen, a lot of coaches are leaving.
Yeah.
Including the great Nick Saban.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Now I wondered what he was going to do because he says he's retiring from coaching. I didn't expect him to necessarily this quickly, but the reports are he is going to join ESPN College Game Day as an analyst on Saturday mornings with their show. He put out a statement saying that ESPN and College Game Day have played such an important role in the growth of college football. I'm honored to have the opportunity to join the team. I'll do my best to offer additional insights and perspectives to contribute to College Game Day, the ultimate Saturday tradition for college football fans. So,
Yeah, who wrote that? That sounds so freaking scripted. Jeez. I think ESPN wrote it and said, "Here, say this, Nick." But I do agree with him. I mean, I think he's. I say that because I've never been on these sidelines, obviously, with Nick Saban, but there's plenty of camera views of him, and he does not seem like the. I will do my best to offer additional insight. That's not how Nick. What the fuck is go? What the shit? I told you to be right there. Yeah, that seems like the guy. So he's gonna have to tone it down, obviously, but. I mean, he's a legend, like capital L.
yeah.
So having his insight and having his point of view was only helpful. Some of my favorite broadcasters and people on those types of shows are people who have done it. Like I've referenced a handful of times leading up to the Super Bowl, Ryan Clark. Well, he's a
Yes.
great corner. I mean, I don't know if he's Hall of Fame worthy, but he's I was an all-star. He's Pro Bowl worthy corner or defensive back. So I like hearing it from the people who did it and did it well. So I
Yeah.
think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and not only that, apparently he will obviously do the College Game Day, but he's going to appear on set for when they do the NFL draft, and then also SEC Media Days, which again he's from the SEC coming out of there, so completely makes sense that ESPN is going to make him involved with that as well.
I think it's going to be great. Not that he won't do great afterwards. That's not what I mean. I'm sure he's going to do fantastic, but it's definitely be great for the first like 2-3 years because he knows all the freaking players. You know what I'm saying? Not just the ones that he obviously had in Alabama, but he recruited a bunch of people that didn't choose Alabama as well. So he knows from all over the landscape. So it's going to be kind of fun to see where he thinks they might be able to fit and what he knows their strengths and weaknesses are. I'm not saying he's going to be putting anybody down oh, this guy sucks, don't pick him. But he'll be able to kind of pinpoint, what would work and where it might work. So that'll be super interesting.
Will also be interesting what he gives an opinion on Alabama and if they get off to a slow start with William DeBoe coaching there now. So we'll see how harsh he is on Alabama initially too, unless he kind of softens up a little bit for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest with you, it's really hard to replace a legend. So I'm hoping he's not too hard on himself for things like that. It's gonna take some time maybe to get everything implemented. So don't be too hard on yourself, man. Don't be too hard on yourself.
Yeah, and you mentioned don't be too hard on yourself. That leads me into our next little small segment we've started doing here in this week's Corey Mental Health Minute. The quote I have for you guys, if you're on YouTube that you can see up on the screen, is taking care of your mental health is an act of self-love. And if you want to get more information or you need any help, you can get in contact with the Mental Health of America corporate national organization at mhanational.org. And a story I wanted to kind of tie into this is last week, Klay Thompson had been benched in the fourth quarter against the Nets, and there's video of him after not being too excited about it, kind of kicking a chair. And obviously you can tell it's taking a toll on him that he's not the player he once was. Back in 2021 in November, he was interviewed by NBC Sports California, who covers the Warriors up in the Bay Area. And he talked about, coming back from 2 injuries back to back, especially, Achilles and ACL, like not just a minor injury, a full year-long recovery.
They were so bad, dude. I felt so bad.
It takes terror. It's just a toll on you. He mentioned in the interview that it takes great willpower. And on top of that, it takes a great support team around you, friends, family, teammates. That is really important because when you get in those dark places, you tend to isolate yourself. At least I do. So when you lean on your loved ones and you lean on your own friends, that's what really got me through it, was just spending time with my friends. He obviously, his
and his dog. I know he loves his dog.
Yeah, Rocco, I think is the name of the dog, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But he stayed true to that. He got benched in Brooklyn after the game. He was interviewed in the post game, like, how are you feeling about not playing in the last 8 minutes of the game? And, he said to go from one of the best players, it's hard for anybody. I'll be honest with you. I've accepted it. You can be mad, but I'm not going to be mad. I'm happy for these young guys. Obviously, we won. It's hard to get wins in this league. So he has learned going through, even though you have tough moments, like I said, he was kicking a chair and kind of pissed off about not playing in the closing minutes of that game. He has able to take a step back and realize like it's the bigger picture is the team. And even the last couple games on Saturday, they were playing Phoenix. He didn't play the closing minutes in that as well. And I think he started to understand like the minutes I do have out there, I need to take advantage of them and do what I can. But when it comes down to it, if I'm not put in the game, I need to not sulk in the corner or be sad. I need to root on my team and my organization, and what's best for the team is best for all of us in the long run. So again, Klay Thompson just trying to take care of his mentals, like we keep talking about, or at least I keep mentioning every couple weeks here. Take care of yourself and be selfish in the point that sometimes.
Yeah, self-love is nice, man. That's good. Thank you for that, man. Thank you. All right. Speaking of Klay Thompson, we're going to move right into the NBA. We do have stuff to talk about with the Warriors in a moment, but we're going to start off with the hometown team. Well, our hometown team, at least. Spencer Dinwiddie has agreed to a buyout with the Raptors, and he signs with the Los Angeles
Woo.
Lakers. 1 year, $1.5 million, bro. I
Steal.
love this because it was addition without subtraction.
Exactly. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
I think he's a legit point guard. He's definitely, especially since I don't even know the guy's name because he doesn't even play anymore. He's from Miami. He played decent, I think, in the finals last year. We were super excited about him, and then he decided to just, be hurt the whole freaking season.
Yeah.
Gabe Vincent basically has missed everything. So having him back up with D'Lo, he can come off. He could be on ball. He's best on ball. He could be a little bit off ball. Shoots just about 32, 33% from the three, so about league average. But he's a great playmaker, passer, and I think this is a great addition for on the low.
Absolutely.
Nice and cheap.
And him and D'Lo, I think, were teammates in Brooklyn together before when they had that playoff run, and D'Lo was an all-star, so there's some continuity there. They're friends. Dinwiddie was at the game on Friday at LA in the
With
stands with Rob.
Yep.
Was in the locker room after, saying what's up to D'Lo and to LeBron and AD, and they all kind of talked him up already. So I think it's a win-win. Like you said, you don't have to give up anything to give him. It's only 1.5 for the rest of the season. Hopefully, we're going to get an update on Vincent, Vando, Cam Reddish, and Max Christie after the All-Star break, which is this weekend. So hopefully we get some good news there. The Vando one is a little more sketchy on what's going to happen, but hopefully we get more good news on Cam Reddish and Max Christie, because I think defensively that could be a big boost to have since we're going to lose Vando for a long period of time, it looks like. Yeah, and Spencer Dinwiddie's a good guard. Now, his numbers are down this year, but again, he's playing in Brooklyn where they're not really playing for anything. I think being in a winning environment and around winning players, and he's going to be able to, you got LeBron and AD, you can run a pick and roll with AD and probably create a lot more than you could in Brooklyn where you don't have a whole lot of talent compared. So, and he's from LA. He's an LA kid. He went to USC, so he's back home. I think it's a home run for both sides.
Yeah, I agree. I liked it. There wasn't much. The main thing that at the trade deadline was I didn't want to give up assets. I think we have good players on this team. I think it's just up to the players and Darvin Ham to put it together, to
And
be honest
health.
with you. Yeah, and health, exactly. So that's why I felt like not getting rid of players. We need people to come back and maybe an addition or two and an additional playmaker. I still would like a big. I don't know if they, if there's going to be more buyout players. Most of the time, that happens pretty quickly because the organization doesn't necessarily want to leave them around. But there could be some more still coming. That's what I would have liked. But well, we got what we got to work with. So, but I think it's a good addition. We weren't getting Kyle Lowry. He is who we're talking about next, because I have one more thing to talk about. I thought it was a funny incentive, but I think Dinwiddie is a great, besides Kyle Lowry, I think he was the best player on the buyout market.
Oh yeah, as far as a guard position, for sure.
Yeah. One last thing about Dinwiddie, and then we'll move on to Lowry, is I saw today that he actually has an incentive in his so he gets paid $1.5 million, but there's actually some incentives built in. And one of them is if the Lakers win a championship. His incentive, this is what's crazy, bro. This is a huge incentive. It bumps his pay up from $1.5 million to $1.5 million and $1. That's right. If the Lakers win a championship, he gets $1 extra. He was actually asked about this weird incentive because obviously $1. I mean, $1, it barely means anything to me. I would take $1, but it barely means anything to me, let alone millionaires, right?
Yeah.
So he was asked about it, and he basically kind of said it's basically something that him and his agent have decided to put into every contract. Some of them it might be bigger than others. Like one was with the Wizards. The Wizards were never going to win a championship. And it's something that is like an inside joke between him and his agent that they always just include in their contract. So the Lakers obliged and said they will give up one entire Washington if that were to happen. But I thought that was funny. He wants $1 if the Lakers win a championship.
Yeah, I don't really get the point of it, but if it's an inside joke with him and his agent, then hey, do your thing, whatever keeps you guys happy and laughing. I just think it's a weird thing because, like you said, mostly incentives are another 100K or 500K or a million. But I guess $1, I guess that motivates you in some weird way or fashion. But everybody's got their own thing of doing it.
Exactly. Well, a great example was Baker Mayfield. If his team made the playoffs, they got some extra $1 million. That's what he did. He definitely wasn't playing for $1.
Yeah, I would have gone for the million over the dollar. But whatever. If that's what gets you happy and gets you laughing, all to it.
All to it. Keeping people happy. That's what Kyle Lowry is doing. He's keeping Sixers fans happy in the meantime while they're waiting for Embiid to come back. He agreed to the buyout with the Hornets and has signed with the Sixers for $2.8 million. He's basically from Philly. This is kind of what did it. And then the cherry on top is Who's the coach for the Sixers again?
Yeah, Nick Nurse got a little
Nick
connection
Nurse,
there.
right? Who won the championship with the Raptors as the head coach when Kyle Lowry was on that team?
Yeah, Nick Nurse and him
Yeah,
got
that's
something
right. It was
going on.
Nick Nurse.
You mentioned he's from Philly. He went to high school there. He played at Villanova, which is in Philly as well. Played for the Sixers before, and now you mentioned the connection between him and Nick Nurse in Toronto, having won a title together. I think it just, in a weird way, they're basically replacing Pat Bev, who they traded to Milwaukee, with Lowry. But Lowry is better as far as
Way
not
better.
causing issues or getting teased, but he does all the dirty, grimy stuff. He takes charges. He knows how to run an offense. And again, without Embiid right now, and they added Buddy Hield, if you could run a pick and roll with somebody else and get Buddy Hield open on the side and Tobias Harris, it opens up the court for everybody and it gives them an opportunity. And again, Maxi's the starting point guard, so it's not like he's going to have to play 30, 35 minutes. If you can get him at 20 to 22 minutes and make a difference with the second unit, again, for 2.8, it's a steal, I think, for the Sixers.
Yeah, you mentioned the dirty work that he does. Not as in that he's a dirty player. I know that's
No,
not
not
what
at
you were
all.
insinuating, but just to clarify here. But yeah, he's down to take the defensive assignment as best he can. He's a little older now. He's 37, about to turn 38 at the beginning or at the end of March next year.
Wow,
Or
that
this
means
year.
he's
I'm
just
sorry.
a little younger than LeBron. I did not realize he was that old.
Yeah, so but the one thing that I want to add to about his like grit and grime is that for us he's listed as exactly 6 feet. So whether
Damn.
that's rounding up or that's not,
He plays
he
really good.
averages his career over 4 rebounds a game in his first career. And even at this late in his career, he's averaging 3.5. So he's down to get down there and try to. He's not just the guy that's sitting out waiting for a leak out. He's not the guy that's like, oh, get the rebound, then give me the ball. He'll go in there and fight for even something as rebounding as small as he is. So I think it's a nice pickup. I truly was hoping to get him, but I didn't, realize all these damn connections that he has with Philly. So we were definitely out of contention
The
there.
perfect comp for him, now I think about it, because I said Pat Bev, but better. He's basically Derek Fisher, because that's how Derek Fisher was when he was on the Lakers.
That's
He
a
took
great
charges,
comp.
hit big shots late, played solid defense in moments and spurts when you needed it, but wasn't the main guy. I think that's exactly what he is. He's the Derek Fisher of our generation at this point, but even slightly better because he does a lot more than Fisher did. But Fish also played with Kobe. It's kind of hard to do a lot more when you got Kobe on your team.
Yeah. He's listed at 6'1", 200. Lowry's at 6', 196. So yeah, they're pretty much the same size
There
too.
you go. All right, that makes sense.
Great comparison there. Someone who's not as big, but definitely as tall. Tyrese Halliburton. The Pacers have been doing work. They did make some trades at the deadline, letting go of Buddy Hield, but they have plenty of players. And really, I know that they played like maybe the 2 and the 3 respectively, but I think a lot of time they want to give to Pascal Siakam. They want him on the court a lot more, for good reason. He's a great player, not necessarily the 3-point sniper that Buddy Hield is, but this is about Halliburton either way. So I think it's pretty good. But speaking of Pascal, you found a clip that was pretty sweet.
Oh man, I saw this play and I figured we had to at least show it to everybody because it not only did the play remind me of a Kobe play, they talked about it was on the same day that Kobe made this kind of play at the Madison Square Garden against the Knicks as well. So we're going to go ahead and show you this highlight of Halliburton's assist, which is out of this world.
Look at that, Halliburton, creative. He jumped in the air, knew he was in trouble, and in order to protect himself and traveling with the ball, he threw the ball off the backboard. Watch, he gets in the air, knows he's in trouble, could have shot it, got it out. Siakam in that right corner, knocks down his next 3. They appreciate that play.
Basically, the backboard has become like a 6th player for some people. It seems
very
like,
much has.
Like, it's just you got to pass it to him in order. When you're stuck, though, hey, that's the smart play. Not just stand there and freak out. Not that he would freak out, but you know what I mean. Not or be stuck in the paint, right?
Yeah.
And have something called, go up for a block, get it stolen, something like that. It's just very, very smart play, and it worked out to where he threw it a little hard for himself to try to put it back, but it was a perfect pass to the corner.
Hey, whatever gets the ball in the bucket, whether you have to use, like you said, use the backboard as a 6th man at that point, you can throw it off the board to yourself and pass it to somebody in the corner who, again, as a point guard, you know where everybody is, at least Halliburton, especially. He has more assists and way down on the turnovers this year. Let him do his thing, man. It
Leading the league in assists.
Oh my gosh, he's so good.
Yeah, I think it's 11.3 or 11.6 assists per game. Yeah,
That's
dude, he's
crazy.
doing work. And the crazy part is he can score too.
Yeah.
Let me look up to see what he's averaging, but he's not like a Chris Paul right now where he's like, oh well, we'll see kind of what he's doing.
Yeah, no,
No, dude can play.
he's got to be averaging probably close to 20 points, I would think, if not over at this point, because he's just
Okay, so he's this year's 22.1 and 11.7 assists per game. Went up more.
so say he has 11 assists a game on average, and they're 2 points each. That's 22 points plus his 22. So he's averaging combined between the two 44 or more, because some of those assists obviously would be 3-pointers.
Threes. Yeah,
Whew.
like the one you saw.
That's some good. That's
Yeah,
some
that's
good
pretty
work.
crazy. Real quick on last thing on Halliburton before we move on. I'm just looking at this. According to Basketball Reference, his career player efficiency rating, which is all of his seasons added up, are 20.3. This year is 25.7. He is just killing it.
Damn.
He's killing it this year, and good for him. I hope that injury that he sustained. I know he's back now, but I hope it goes away. I hope that it doesn't
rear its head back.
no, don't pull a Debo Samuel and kind of trigger it again.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Well, thankfully the All-Star break's here shortly too, so that'll give him some time to recuperate a little bit more and take some time off.
One of those people that is doing a fun event in the All-Star game is Steph Curry. Him and company faced off against the Suns in, I was going to say Oracle, at the Chase Center in San Francisco this past Saturday night. What a freaking game, dude. I missed most of it. I got to see just basically the only part that mattered, which was the last shot of the game. But you got to watch it, right?
Yeah, since the concert I was working was so slow, I was able to go into the store while my staff was working and kind of work on some side projects. But I had my phone going and watched about, I think, the last 5 or 6 minutes, and it was a great back and forth. KD had 24, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. Booker had 32, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. Steph had 30 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. But the thing was, that game-winning 3 in the last, I think, 3.5 seconds when they inbounded it. And not only
we have to show it.
Yeah, we will here in 1 second. But before we show it, not only is it the shot that he makes, it's the pass from Podziemski. He throws the ball to him, but it's not a straight-on pass. He can see that Beal is reading the screen and going to come out. So he throws it farther out almost, so Steph has to be able to reach for it. Almost, well, they called it on NBA Today a pirouette, but it almost looks like a drop step where he's reaching out and just grabbing and spinning. We have to check out this replay. It is nuts.
So good.
Podziemski has it. Here come the screens. Curry comes free. Gets the ball. Puts up a three-pointer. Bang! Steph Curry nails the three-pointer with 7/10 of a second remaining. The magnificence of Steph Curry once again on display. How about that pass? If it was not that far behind Curry, Beal had a chance to steal it. It was so close. So now with 7/10 of a second remaining, Phoenix, it's pretty much catch and shoot. You can catch, turn, and shoot. Well, Kevin Durant certainly has seen this from his former teammate.
Oof, chills, bro. Not even a Warriors fan, but what a shot. Although to the point about getting it out, great pass.
Right.
And the cool part that you have to remember is that there is no distance that limits Steph Curry.
No.
The only thing is basically other baseline out of bounds. That's pretty much the only, if he's standing out of bounds, that's the only place that he can't make a shot from this court. So putting it a little bit farther than the 3-point line means absolutely nothing to him. Great placement, great shot.
And Steph talked about it actually post game. He said that, Podziemski threw him a great pass. And at that point, he said it's just muscle memory for him to shoot. It doesn't matter where he is on the floor, to your point. He shoots all that stuff during warm-up. He shoots from half court. He shoots from the tunnel back in the day. I don't know if he still does that at Chase Center, but at Oracle, he used to shoot from the tunnel before he ran into the locker room. Like his range is unmatched. Like there's nobody else. Yeah, basically, if he's on, like you said, if he's on the court and inbounds, he can make the shot regardless of where it's from. And this is just
or have a higher percentage than the entire rest of the league.
Oh, combined.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So he made 9 threes this game. It was just basically on fire and has been lately. I saw a stat actually that I think is extremely surprising. I'm gonna go backwards because it's just this insane. So they have like a top 5 list of the people in NBA history who have went through games where they've made 8 or more 3-pointers. Now, mind you, that is freaking 20. What is that?
24 points alone.
24 points alone based on just 3-pointers. Okay. So number of people who have made 8 or more in a game. Okay. Actually, bottom of the list, I was kind of surprised to see his name, but then not surprising at the same time. J.R. Smith has had 14 games where he's made 8 or more threes. That's pretty freaking crazy because the other people on top of this list don't belong in the same category as J.R. Smith.
Yeah, but if you think
And
about
I'm
it,
giving that to
J.R. Smith was one of those guys. If he gets hot, he gets hot. So I could see him doing it a few times, but 14, that is a lot for J.R. Smith.
Yeah, exactly. Fourth on the list is James Harden with 22.
Mm-hmm.
So a nice big jump up there. Third on the list is Curry's brother. Well, not literal, but Splash. With Klay. Klay Thompson's had 24 instances where he's made 8 or more threes. These are just insane numbers, right?
Dude.
And second is Lillard, which obviously we saved Curry for first, but Lillard is second with 29, almost 30 freaking games with 8 or more three-pointers.
That is nuts.
But you know what's more nuts? Steph Curry's number. After this past Saturday, Steph Curry now has 80 games of 8 or more three-pointers in a single game. 80 such instances of making 8 or more threes. Dude is just electric. He's the best shooter ever. I mean, to have a drop-off be 51 games is and that's nuts.
Not only that, like none of these guys behind him are young or going to be in the league for much longer. Like J.R. Smith's already out of the league. Harden's at the back end. Klay, as we talked about, is struggling to even survive and play in most games. And Lillard is over 30, I think 32 or 33 as well. So these guys are getting older. There's no way anybody's going to ever catch Curry. This is just astronomical numbers. The most threes made in a career. He's going to just continuously add it. I don't know if he's hit the 4,000 mark yet, but if he hasn't, it's very close. And he's going to be the only one to ever do it for sure.
Yeah, because all the other great three-point shooters are all retired. Ray Allen and Reggie Miller. Now, I think that the game is moving to threes, but I still don't know if anybody shoots them, let alone makes them at the rate that this guy does. The clip that Steph shoots is just insane. So
absolutely, wow,
that was a crazy stat. I thought I would just had to talk about 80, and the next closest person is 29. Like, wow, that's crazy, bro. But this was definitely a rematch. The last time that these teams met, there was a lot of controversy around it, and it all really started and centered around Draymond Green. This was the beginning of the Draymond Green suspension after he basically just decided to punch Nurkic in the face. But there's a little bit more that happened in their first meeting back. Take it from here, man.
Okay, so Nurkic and him kind of in the first half, a little like not tussle, but kind of push back and forth, a little bit of chatter, whatever, no big deal. Draymond didn't get out of control or no tees were thrown. Then in the third quarter, I think Nurkic gets Draymond on a one-on-one in the post. He backs him in, gets a little hook shot, and as the ball is out of bounds and Draymond and them are going inbound, Nurkic does that whole, he's too small thing, slaps the floor, makes a big old ordeal about it. They come down. I don't know if I feel like it was the next play, if not 2 or 3 plays later. Draymond comes down, gets the same thing. He gets him in the post, backs him in, makes a layup on him, and then Draymond does the same thing, too small at him. But then after the game is over, Nurkic in the locker room is getting talked to the press, and he talks about how, all that stuff I said about Draymond deserves a chance and everything. I take that all back. He doesn't deserve a chance. But we're going to play the clip of him explaining it first, and then we're going to react, but it's just very strange to me.
Okay, let's check it out.
No, obviously Dre. This was the first time you had seen him since what happened in that last game. Maybe take me through how that went tonight.
I mean, it's sad. He didn't learn anything, man. It's just a matter of time. You're going to knock somebody else again. So take everything back what I said. You don't deserve a chance. So that's it for me.
When you say that, I mean, what do you feel like he was doing tonight that told you that nothing has changed?
Just antics. Try to hit people. The stuff he shouldn't do. But I don't care. At the end of the day, they try to play that way, but no one worry about them. They got to win tonight. We'll see what happens to them in a few games, a month or so. No one worry about it. Don't say no more.
Okay. Lastly, just the matchup in terms of them going small. How you feel like you fared in that?
We have a new teammate and new players and try to implement, just play it the right way. Miss a lot of shots that we can make and we usually make. Felt like we didn't, bend the team who played last few weeks, whatever. But it's just one game, man. The next page, we have 2 more before break and a couple days before the games. And just regroup, watch the film, practice, and go from there. There's no one, to say it's NBA, another game soon.
I I don't even know what to make of it, to be honest with you. I try not to take a side. I'm definitely not on the side of the guy who punched somebody,
Yeah, agreed.
but I mean, Nurkic needs to just like, bro, like
You can't
you
react.
started the too small gesture, right?
Exactly. You can't react and poke the bear, and then when they react back to you, be like, "Oh yeah, that was stupid. They shouldn't have done." Like you literally started it in a sense at that point and made it a deal. And I think I saw Boogie Cousins and Rondo were on a podcast with Rachel Nichols, I think today or yesterday, talking about this. And Cousins had the best way to describe it, basically saying that you can't start a fight with somebody and then when they react back, go tell the principal on them. Like that's basically what he did.
Facts.
Like
That's a good way to put
if
it.
you
Yeah,
poke the
that's
bear
true.
and they react and then you get mad that they reacted to you, like what do you expect? You can't poke and then just be like, oh thanks, don't worry about it, let me just do whatever I want. Especially Draymond, like
He also
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, he also did a really over the top "you're too small" gesture. Like, there's
Way
the different ones where somebody puts their hand down and then you walk away, or even leave it there. But he like put it there, put like two hands there,
slammed on the
slapped the floor,
floor.
sat on the floor, fucking spun around, did like some break dancing. Like, dude was like being a lot extra with his too small gesture too. So again, if he would have done like a small one and then moved on, and then Draymond blew it up, okay, you know what? Yeah, maybe Draymond took it a little too far. Again, I don't think he took it too far. You didn't get punched in the face, did you?
No,
Right?
yeah.
So Draymond didn't take it too far at all. But dude, you're the one you really had to emphasize how far down and smashing the floor and all this kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't feel bad. I felt bad for you at first with the punch. I don't feel bad for you on this one. Not at all.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Okay, a couple last notes before we get out of the NBA. Not a huge thing, but just because they're the first ones to do it. Unfortunately, the Celtics were the first team to get to 40 wins over the weekend. They actually got their 41st yesterday against Miami. So
Sorry, I'm throwing up.
I know, it's all good. They are an NBA best 25-3 at home. The 3 losses at home were to Denver, I believe, by a last second shot or by 2 points at the end. They got murdered by the Clippers, and the Lakers were able to go in there without LeBron and without AD and beat them as well. So, again, first team to 40-plus wins before the All-Star break, but just another note just to think about. And then the other one before we head out, which actually before tonight, it was the Cavs had won 17 of 18, but they lost to Philly tonight. So they have won 17 of their last 19 games. In that time span, like we mentioned, they lost to the Sixers tonight. They lost to the Bucks once. Also did beat the Bucks twice during the same stretch, and they did beat the Clippers in Cleveland as well. So Cleveland has finally gotten healthy and finally figured some things out. Even though they lost tonight, they did lose, I think, by 2 to Philly. So it was a close game, but again, without Embiid being in there, I think that kind of changes the dynamics of Philly and what they're doing. But the Cavs are for real in the Eastern Conference. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get to the conference finals or even win anything, but they're going to be a hard out in the playoffs regardless of who they get matched up with.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I think that their combination of the two guards with Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, but then that's not the only thing that they really excel at. They have good big guys too. You know, the defensive guy and the big rebounder with Jared Allen. Now, granted, he looks a little bit taller with his afro, but still, he's big. And then, and then the somewhat young Evan Mobley coming out of SC.
Yep.
That dude, they have a really good team, and it's fairly deep as well. So I think it's great, and they're being coached well right now. So I think I think they look good. They look good. I'd love for them to come out. Shoot,
yeah, that'd be cool as long as it's not the Clippers or the Celtics in the final. I'm good with anybody else at this point.
It'd be worse if it was the both. Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
for real.
All right, back to the baseball diamond. Because that's basically the season that has started here. Obviously, we've been in basketball season, but baseball is up next. Pitchers and catchers report in just a couple days. So excited to see all the happenings. Blake Snell still has not signed anywhere, but we will see what goes on. It's crazy to think that the reigning Cy Young Award winner is not anywhere.
There is some talk of Philly being a dark horse there for that, so let's keep an eye on that.
Oh, jeez, that's all they need is more help. Yep. All right. Well, good for them. Anybody but the Dodgers, I guess. So,
exactly.
And the Yankees.
Well, unless the Dodgers get him and he defers all the money, then they can sign whoever the hell they want. But let's hope that doesn't happen this time.
That's their favorite thing to do, though. So don't put it past them.
Well, I hope their fans try to defer money for beer costs because that's going to be crazy this year.
Yeah, can they just write a bunch of IOUs? They'll pay you back in 10 years without the inflation. No inflation cost.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
A couple of the teams, though, doing some stuff. Rays, actually, signing manager Kevin Cash and their president, Eric Neander. They get new contracts. That's great. They're one of the organizations that does a lot with a little.
Yes.
And Kevin Cash knows exactly what he's doing. I do think that speaking of Blake Snell, I think he pulled Blake Snell too early in that Dodgers World Series. But
6, yeah.
I don't. I try not to relive that. So
Yeah, it's a 37% title anyway, so I don't have to worry about it. But yeah, Kevin
true.
Cash and Neander both get new deals. They haven't put out the details of how long, but the talk is it'll be beyond the 2028 season, which is when the Rays are supposedly supposed to be moving into a new stadium in St. Petersburg area, which will be nice because if they get a new stadium and the A's get a new stadium, everybody will have at least up to date subpar parks to play in compared to the trashes that they both play in now, especially Oakland. That place needs to be just burnt down at this point. But the Rays have made, like you said, they do a lot with very little spending. They've been in 5 consecutive playoff appearances. I think last year with them and Baltimore went back and forth battling for the best record in the AL and ultimately ended up as a wild card team and losing to Texas, which ultimately won the World Series. So can't be mad about
Yeah,
that.
not bad.
Neander has been with the team, I think I read since 2007 or 2008. He started as an intern and kind of worked his way up the system and now is the president of baseball operations. Cash was a member of Terry Franco's coaching staff in Cleveland for 2 years before he took over for the Rays back. I think that was
Francona. Sorry, I
Francona.
know you
Thank
kind
you.
of.
I think he has been there since 2017. The first couple years they didn't make the playoffs, but again, 5 straight years they've made it. They've been in the World Series that they ultimately lost to the Dodgers. Again, 37% of a season, so we'll talk about the details of it. But
Yep.
in the last 5 years that they have been really good, the Rays have the 4th most wins at 421 in all of baseball. So they're doing something right down in St. Petersburg, and I mean, props for them to bring in the guys back and making sure that they keep them happy and then not letting them go into a lame duck year in the last year of their deals next year.
And I couldn't agree more. They're doing a lot with a little. I just looked it up right now. Rays both last year and this year spend the 27th most, as in there's only 3 teams that spend less than them. One of them was actually a playoff team, so you can't really hate on that, but that's because they've had a decade of bad,
Miami Marlins.
not luck, I would say. No, the Orioles, the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, they've been a year.
So the Pirates are 28, Orioles are 29, and the A's are 30.
Yeah.
That was last year. This year, the Rays also again sit at 27. Pirates 28, Marlins at 29, and again the A's at 30.
They're such a bad franchise to be run by Fisher and them. They need to get that out of there.
Yeah. So again, they basically pay nobody and do a lot with it. Good for them. Good for them. It's the exact opposite of the Dodgers.
Let's hope that continues that way.
There are some spendings going along, though, for players. The Reds have recently signed a 2-year deal worth $8.8 million with second baseman Jonathan India. India is his last name. That's not the country he is from.
Correct.
He is $3.8 million are going to be in 2024, $5 million in 2025. Also has about $2.5 million in incentives added in. I mean, Reds did pretty well last year. They made a late push to try to get in. They got Ellie De La Cruz.
Exactly.
Adding this is pretty good, no?
Yeah, absolutely. He was the 2021 Rookie of the Year. They basically are trying to get this deal done so they avoid arbitration for the next 2 seasons, so it gets taken care of a little bit, give him some incentives because, again, the Reds don't spend a ton of money, but they do spend a decent amount. And, yeah, they were competitive last year for the most part. Ellie De La Cruz is one of the most exciting names in baseball going into this season, and
so
I'm excited to see what the Reds can do and hopefully cause some havoc in the NL Central.
The boring NL Central. Yes, 100%.
Yes.
Hopefully they make it not so boring. Yeah. Somebody who a name that we kind of not grew up with. It was more because, sometimes pitchers and relievers don't really last that long. So I wouldn't say it's someone we grew up with, but someone we've grown accustomed to seeing. Closing pitcher, or no, I thought he closed. Corey Kluber?
No, he was a starter, at least initially. He might have turned into a reliever the last year or so, but he was a starter because he has 2 Cy Youngs he actually won with Cleveland when he was with them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he's officially calling it quits. Great pitcher, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I mentioned, 2 Cy Youngs, 2014 and 17 when he was with Cleveland. He was on the team when they went to the World Series in 2016 and ultimately lost to the Cubs. During that playoff run, he had 1.3 ERA, 35 strikeouts and 8 walks in 34 innings over the 6 starts during that playoff run. And he's the only pitcher in Cleveland history to have won multiple Cy Youngs. So not necessarily a Hall of Famer or anything like that, but a very good pitcher in his run there in Cleveland. And, the last couple of years in Boston or so, he's kind of just been, pitching here and there and not as great. But, at the end of the day, a great career when it's all said and done and just short of a World Series title, losing Game 7 to the Cubs.
Yeah, well, that Cubs team was, inevitable in my opinion.
Yeah,
I had gone to Chicago that year, and they were on a roll. There was a lot of excitement in Chicago around the stadium, around the ballpark there, and it was almost inevitable. But still, great run. Great run. Good for him.
Yep. And one last baseball note before we get out of here is
Keeping it in the shy.
yeah, I was say I don't know. Again, this is a lot of stadiums get talked about and don't end up happening, but the White Sox have reportedly proposed a new stadium in the South Loops, the 78 area, which is a specific neighborhood they want to build this in and kind of build up. They released renderings on Wednesday of last week talking about where they're going to do it. It's going to be kind of on the water on the river. This would be the first stadium for the White Sox. I think they've been in Guaranteed Rate Field, or formerly known as Kaminsky Park or U.S. Cellular, since 1991. Yeah. So but the lease for that stadium is set to end in 2028. Now, this hasn't been approved or anything yet. This still has to go through the city and get voted on, and the governor has to be involved. But the new ballpark would be about 2.5 miles north of where they're located now, and move them a little closer to downtown. Again, the big
it's a stretch, bro, to get to that field. You gotta take that train all the way down. I mean, I guess you could drive,
and there's
a train all the way down, walk across a freeway.
There's nothing else there either. It is literally all by itself. My dad and I, when we went, we found a restaurant, or actually, I guess technically it's just a bar down the street, and it's like the oldest bar in America, and it was open during Prohibition. They had like a back room that they would serve through and stuff. It was a really cool old school bar. But yeah, there's not a whole lot else around that area. It's kind of a broken down area in a sense. So they want to build this.
It's pretty shady, bro.
Yeah, they want to build this new park and get kind of build up the area and create a bunch of jobs and financial advantage for the city. But again, the governor said that taxpayer dollars are precious. And so the question really is what benefit financially are they bringing fiscally to the state and the city and to the county? So a lot of things and loopholes that need to be taken care of to even get this taken care of and solved. But again, it's something hopefully in the step of the right direction. And as you're watching on YouTube, we'll show a couple of the picture of the renderings of what they're expecting it to look like. Looks like another great park, but again, not too massive and crazy and big. It's not like these football stadiums where they're just massive and 60, 70,000 people. It's a pretty small basic park, but again, trying to build up more of the area around where the stadium would be.
3 things. 1, if you're not watching on YouTube, that's okay. If you listen to us on Apple or Spotify, that's great. We appreciate you. But if you ever want to check out some of the things, like Corey said, the renderings of the pictures of the potential stadium, go check us out on YouTube. Just search Our View from the Bench. Second thing, I went to U.S. Cellular Field too. It wasn't that bad. It was kind of nice. I mean, I know 1991 was a long time ago, but they seem to have kept up with it. Now, granted, I went in 2015, I think it was. So that's been another 9 years. But to me, it wasn't that bad. I mean, if you just keep it up. Now, the area around it, I'll give it to you. That wasn't bad. But they had like a 4-story team store, and they had like all the Chicago teams there. Like, it was pretty like nice for it looked from the outside. Definitely didn't have any of the history, but looked from the outside nicer than Wrigley, to be honest. Yep. So, and then the third thing, this is why I love Stan Kroenke, because I couldn't agree more. As much as I love sports, it should not be my job or Corey's job to fund billionaires' stadiums. Yep. Okay. This is what I love about Kroenke, is that he said, fine. Or even about, as much as I hate to say it, even about Ballmer. Ballmer said, fine, I'll do it. No worries. I'll pay for it. And that's exactly what they should do, in my opinion. So I'm kind of with you said it was governor of
the
Illinois.
Mayor, I think, of Chicago.
Oh, okay. So I'm kind of with him on that as well, in saying that, we shouldn't just be like, oh, they want it. Yeah, go ahead and just spend billions of dollars, because that's kind of what it takes to make these fields. Granted, it's not as big as a football field, but it still takes a lot of money to kind of make it in. And there's plenty of other programs. Shoot, even one that we try to talk about on this show now, mental health stuff that could be doing. The city of Chicago is not running great. It's not all wheels are, chugging along and everything's greased up, ready to go. Chicago's a rough spot, so there's plenty of other places that the money could be spent. So I kind of agree with that. So yeah, I just wanted to throw those 3 points out.
Yep, couldn't agree more. Like you said, billionaires shouldn't be asking us to pay for the stadiums that they're going to use and make money off of. Build it yourself, and then
we're going to go spend it.
Yeah, exactly. But build it yourself. Yeah, Kroenke did the right thing. Ballmer's doing the right thing by building Intuit Dome. I think it's the best way to do it. And this isn't how it used to be back in the day, where all the cities would just cave to these teams. There's no longer money to just say, oh, screw it, let's just throw it out there and see what happens. There's a lot more thought process through it. And again, that's why the Chargers aren't in San Diego anymore, because the city down there said, no, we're not building you a new stadium. Like, you want one, build it yourself. And ultimately, they ended up renting one from the Rams instead.
Yeah, good old Chargers ownership. What's his name?
Spanos, he's the worst.
Yeah. He's a great. You know what? Maybe a tad better than the A's ownership group.
Yeah, they do spend money and try to win, but they're also still cheap around the edges, of like coaching for a long time, until Harbaugh they decided to spend some money for the first time. But that's also because you're in the LA market now. People aren't going to take you seriously if you don't spend real.
Yeah, well, at least they're not like the Cardinals where they charge their own players at the vending
Yeah,
machines
that's
and they
bad.
have to earn lunch and shit. Jeez, bro, how embarrassing.
Oh man.
So well, that was a good one, man. Not quite the marathon we've been used to lately, but to be honest with you, there's I love talking about the football stuff, and we're right in that middle spot where not everything is heating up yet. So I thought it was still a great episode. Plenty to
Always.
talk about.
Always a great episode. What are you talking about? Every episode we have is fantastic.
Amen, my friend. Amen. But we're not even done. Of
Mhm.
course, we're not
Not
done. We
yet.
got to leave you guys with some knowledge. I remember last week you were referencing when I talked about this. We always end an episode with either a history piece or some sort of random fact. You told me you had a good one coming up, so maybe we should get into MILF Monday.
Let's do it.
Cannot believe a fine woman like this produced a guy like Stifler. Dude, I took some MILF. What the hell is that? MILF.
Man, I love facts.
Yeah,
Hey guys, MILF Monday.
Yay. Woo.
Yeah. All right, man. You said you were going to bring it this week with some interesting facts. Tell me something I haven't heard before.
So I saw this happen last week. I think it was a college or high school game that it happened in, and I didn't know the rules, so I had to look it up. And it is baseball related since we're getting ready for spring training to start here, and pitchers and catchers reporting on Thursday. If you're a baseball fan, you know the rule for pitchers is known as a balk, which when that happens, every runner on base gets to move to the next base regardless of how many people are on or whatever. I did not know that catchers, it's not technically called a catcher's balk in the rule book, but there is a rule that if you're a catcher, like say the pitcher throws a ball in the dirt and it drops, most catchers usually take off their mask or their helmet to see the ball easier where it is, grab it with their glove or grab it with their bare hand. Well, apparently you also, part of the rule is you cannot use any piece of your uniform or equipment to save the ball or trap it from moving. And what happened is this catcher used his mask that he took off so he could see to grab the ball and pull it back towards him, which is a infraction. You cannot do that. And essentially it is a catcher's balk. So all the runners move to the next base.
Wow.
Now, I didn't know if this was something that maybe was just a minor league thing, but I looked it up. It is a rule in the MLB. And the last time I could find it happening was actually in 2021, I'm sorry, in August when the Giants were in Arizona playing the Diamondbacks, and the catcher, as you can see on the screen if you're watching on YouTube, Kurt Casale, used his mask to stop a ball in the dirt, therefore committing an extremely rare catcher's balk and forcing all the runners to move over to the next base. Did not know that was a
Wow,
rule.
dude. No, I never knew that anything like that existed. I've seen exactly what you're talking about, but 99% of the time they pick it up with their glove. They put their glove down on the thing and then it's in their mitt, right? Because it's
Exactly.
pretty, pressure right there. Wow. So catcher, so it's not just, leading off the bag or, pretending to go somewhere and then pretending to pitch and then going to first. That's not all that's a balk. Huh.
No, you
Wow.
cannot.
You definitely brought it this week, bro. That was something I never heard
And
of.
apparently this rule not only affects to the catcher, it's for everybody on the field. Like if you're an infielder, you can't take off your hat to grab a ball and pull it back towards you
Oh.
either. So it's not just the catcher, but it just happens to be more of a balk in the moment because it's not a live play. Like the ball's not hit into play when it happens. It's a pass ball or a ball in the dirt and the catcher's trying to grab it. So technically the rule is no player can use any part of their uniform or equipment to save for their glove to trap, catch, move, or in any other way intentionally manipulate the ball. That is the official rule by MLB.
Wow. I feel like there's a baseball movie where somebody saves a home run by catching it with their hat or something like that.
Oh, well, yeah, movie. That's
I can't
Hollywood.
think of
man,
what it
that's
is on this
different.
time. Well, I'm just saying, like, get it right.
Well,
Gosh, don't you know about
sports
this
movies
balk?
always have small details that they kind of stretch a little bit. So
True. Well, dude, that one's crazy. You definitely had me on that one. I was expecting to nope, I heard of that one. Sorry, Corey, heard of that one before. No, not new. But
gotcha.
yeah, definitely had not. Yeah, you got me on that one. That's for sure. That's for sure. You definitely have these facts. Sometimes Corey brings it like this. Sometimes we may have heard it before, but most of the facts that he has are pretty abstract, to be honest with you. If you want to catch more of them, feel free to check out any of our Monday or early week episodes. We try to obviously keep it on Monday to fit with MILF Monday. But we also have on Thursdays, we got some history stuff. If you ever want to find them, where can they do that, man?
Yeah, if you want to listen to the audio version only on Spotify or Apple Podcast, or if you'd like to, like Brenda mentioned, watch us on YouTube and see the screens that we put up or the videos we show, you can just search us on all three platforms, Our View from the Bench.
Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, or X, if that's what you call it. Again, I really am going to be looking to try to get more active in that. I'm trying to get into it. I'm not a huge social media. We were kind of the generation after social media. We were into social media. We have it, right? But we weren't the generation that kind of blew up on it.
Correct.
So, but feel free to please follow us there as well at Our View FTB. It's Monday. Super Bowl is over. Football is on a large break. How's the rest of your week looking, man?
Honestly, not a whole lot going on. I'm working just day shifts the next few days. I am working UFC, the fight at Honda Center on Saturday, so that'll be a long day for me. We have the press conference on Thursday, the weigh-in on Friday, which we'll be selling merch at one stand for each of those. And then Saturday is going to be crazy. We're going to have 2 different locations in the parking lot. We're going to have all 5 stands in the arena. So it's going to be a long day of UFC and selling merch for me. But other than that, I'm just trying to get through the next chill couple days of day shifts before the madness begins on Saturday. What about you, sir?
Have you guys ever had a UFC
Yeah, I think
at the Honda Center that you've worked? I mean,
this is the second one I've worked. I believe this might be the 3rd or 4th we've had at the building in general. I know back when I was working part-time and we were a third-party vendor, we weren't doing the merch for the big concerts or events. It was Brock Lesnar versus somebody. I don't remember who. But when they did the weigh-in, they did it outside the old team store, and Lesnar had to walk through the team store to get out there. I have never seen a bigger man in my life. He looked like a bear. I was just like, my jaw probably hit the floor looking at him walk by like, oh my God,
that's a human.
That is just a monster of a person. So, but yeah, this will be the second one I've worked, and I think the 3rd or 4th they've had at the arena in general.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I got a pretty low key week at work, like normal. Quick update on our show after I explain it, but yeah, just Valentine's Day Wednesday. So me and the wife are going to Disneyland. Going to spend the entire day there. Took the day off for that.
Nice.
Other than that, just try to relax, get through the work week. But it does kind of bring us to a quick note. We're gonna take. I guess you could call it a week or so off right now. We're going to skip the Thursday episode because there's a lot going on for me. And then we're going to skip the Monday episode next week because Corey, you have what? WWE?
WWE Raw will be on Monday at the Honda Center, and that show it's early because it's a live on the East Coast thing, so I think the show starts at 4:30, but by the time I get out of there, it'll be 10:30, 11 o'clock, and it'll be a little too late for us to be recording. So yeah, we're going to take a little bit of a break. The NBA All-Star weekend is this weekend, so we'll recap all that when we come back on Thursday. I believe that is the 22nd.
22nd. Yeah. So make sure you catch our episode there. Taking a small hiatus just because we got a handful of things going on right here. And it's honestly kind of the perfect time. Super Bowl's over, NBA All-Star break, so there's not a lot of games going on besides
training
that stuff. Hockey's in the middle of it. Spring just getting started. So it's kind of the perfect time to kind of take a couple episodes. But we'll be back on Thursday with plenty to talk about because we've been finding stuff to talk about with only days in advance. And this one we're going to have over a week's worth of information. So
there'll be so much
ready
breaking news between now and then. We're going to miss it all because we've taken the time off watch. I know it.
Yeah, that's okay. If we have to do an emergency episode to cover something huge, we will do so. We definitely don't want to leave you guys without the information, but plan is to be back on the 27th.
Which is another reason to make sure you subscribe and follow us on all our platforms. So that way, if we do have an emergency episode that comes up, you get the notification that is there for you to listen to or watch.
Great point. Hit that notification bell. Again, it's free. But yeah, other than that, we appreciate you always joining us here. Thank you as always for seeing things from our view from the bench. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Corey. Like we always say, enjoy the sports until we talk again.
Peace. Chiefs Kingdom. Stand up.
This was a Sycamore 4th Studios production.